know, rice and all that stuff. Uh, Actually, I too have been working on my own catchphrase. Smoothly smooth. May not be as catchy, but I think it works. So, all right. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the newcomers to my blog. Um,
Oregon City would find pregnancy tests real quick that revealed she pregnant with Joker's baby. It gave me here Harley Quinn seeing a hush little baby at the end of the credits. Seems like Rocksteady was planning on the next installment involving the child with Joker, right? Well, the DLC Harley Quinn's Revenge reveals that the results were actually negative. I don't know why they changed this. Maybe it was an abandoned plotline. So Marvel has the Hulkbuster, and it's become pretty iconic. So what if DC said, let's just give Batman a Hulkbuster? Enter the Justice Buster, a mech designed by Batman to defeat the entire Justice League. It's got plasma shields, powdered magnesium carbonate cannons, the Aquaman,
Bro,
a Cytron Neuralites for Green Lantern, the Mind of
that doesn't make any fucking sense. Are you cutting or are you stopping, my nigga? Like there wasn't already a nigga fucking cutting, bro. Fucking idiot.
Personally, really don't like it. Like, I get why you want to have this, but it just seems way too much of an obvious Hulkbuster clone. I don't know. They say it's based more on the Dark Knight Return because Snake's so long he wears, but I think that's a stretch.
Like,
In the mid-90s, Fox Kids approached Bruce Timm to make a spin-off of the Batman the Animated Series based on Catwoman. But the series was scrapped in favor of Superman the Animated Series, most likely because Superman's a more marketable character. In 2003, working on the third Batman the Animated Series movie, Batman Mystery of the Batman, Warner Bros. Approached Poet Kirkland to write and direct a direct-to-DVD Catwoman film to tie in the 2004 live-action film. It's never been revealed whether or not this film would be connected to the 2004 film or extended DCU. A script was written, but it was ultimately canceled because, well, Catwoman 2004 was Catwoman 2004. In 1993, it was announced that Michelle Pfeiffer was set to reprise her role as Catwoman in her own solo film. Tim Burton was actually announced as director. Ultimately, though, Tim Burton left the project and the film fell through. Most of the Burtonverse was in a more family-friendly tone. Once Catwoman film, according to David Waters, was going to be extremely dark. In 2010 and 2011, a 13-issue series was released called Batman Odyssey, written by Neil Adams, in which Batman travels to the center of the Earth. He claims it's sort of a weird POV shot like those POV animes like Psychopaths watch. In this issue, journalist Harry Bruce Wayne tells the story about how he traveled to the center of the Earth, fought dinosaurs, cavemen, Egyptian gods, met some wizards, aliens, rescued Talia al Ghul, etc. Also, the story is told in flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks because Neil Adams decided that's how storytelling works. Oh, years ago, shoots a villain called Sensei for all of his villains. Totally was all part of a plan as Batman then gives him some powers with formula and then turns him into a baby. Then Batman gives baby Sensei up for adoption. What the fuck is this comic? How do you watch Comic Tropes video on this for a more detailed explanation of what really happens in this train wreck? The animated series was in development from Keihan Ryu, the Boondocks Legend of Korra. It constantly developed on it, but was ultimately canceled for Neil Justice. Funny enough, Nightwing later showed up in Neil Justice later on in the second season. No Man's Land is one of those iconic Batman comics out there, and there were actually two attempts to get it adapted into comic or television. The first was an animated series in the mid-2000s. Aside from the characters were gone, the project was ultimately canceled over Warner Bros. Moving too dark. So instead, they made Rick. The second was a CGI animated series. It was scrapped for the same reason the last pitch was. It was just simply too dark for DC at the time. The 1988 storyline, Death of Family, Jason Todd famous left with the readers. Call the team vote for Jason Todd to live or die. Sadly for Jason, the readers voted to kill him by a tiny margin. Because the choice was left to the readers, there actually exists pages of an alternate ending that would have been released if fan vote spared Jason. Since then, there's been two pages where this issue would look like showing the public. but the issue was never actually completed, so full release is impossible. So everyone knows the Batmobile, the Batway. No, not that Batway. That Batway. The Batboat, the Batcycle, etc. There's plenty of other Batmobiles over the years that have been kind of odd. For example, in the masterpiece that is Batman and Robin, Batman magically has a bat sniff. Why does he have this? I have no idea. He also has the Bat Hammer, which is apparently coated with silver ice on that can reflect ice glasses. One of the first vehicles he ever had was the Bat Gyro that somehow made its way to modern day DC Comics. That is the Bat Tiger, which I only imagine was used once before Batmobile. Okay, so finally, if I came out, I don't need this. This will actually appear in the animated sequence. And finally, there's the Batarang X, which is literally a giant batarang that rides after catapulting into the air. Oh, and they're not vehicles, but let's never forget the time Batman rocket skates against Batman issue 117. In top 2, we had a theater production called Batman the Musical. 5 songs who came to the show Batman released to the public. Gotham City, Batman Solo, Green Art Shift, Joker Solo. Where does he get all this wonderful toys? Catwoman Solo. I need all these like that. We're still the children we once were. And in the land of the pig, the butcher is king, which would have been sung by the corrupt politician who wrote Gotham. Funny enough, that last song was actually covered in the Meatloaf album, Bat Out of Hell 3, The Monsters Loose. But ultimately, this theater production would end up being cancelled. Though another unrelated Batman musical would be released in 2012 called Home Musical Batman. In 1967, a 7-minute presentation was created to gauge interest in a possible Batman spin-off series starring Batgirl. However, the presentation didn't do well, so we never got it. You can actually find the presentation. To get this back, you say the Batman and Robin from Killer Moth, which, funny enough, is Killer Moth's only appearance in the 60s Batman franchise. Craig McCracken set up some of the Allward Powerpuff Girls. He wanted to do an episode of Batman animated series version of her crossed over with Powerpuff Girls. He said, and I quote, when we did the original series, I really wanted to do an episode with the Joker in town and certain crimes. The idea was the mayor was so excited to have a celebrity villain in town that he'd actually drive forwards while girls were stopping him because the Joker was finally putting townsville on the map. We wanted to use Bruce Timm's designs from the animated series and get more Campbell to the voice. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers said no. In 2017, Jordan Roberts pitched a live-action Red Son movie called Warner Brothers as a Elseworld TCU film with different actors playing Batman and Superman. I was told no way to see. Later, writer Mark Miller commented on this, saying that two of his friends had approached by Warner Bros. Themselves to direct a live-action Rinso film. But since the animated adaptation came out in 2020, it looks like this will never happen. And before you come and say this is a Superman thing, Batman's grandson, look, there he is, right there. A film adaptation of Ryan Azario's Joker by DC, but never happened. Probably because there's no way that comic could be adapted. I mean, it could, but I mean, that comic is really dark. Really the darkest thing DC's done in a long, long time. So Fleischer Studios, the guys who made those amazing Superman cartoons that you were going to make some Batman cartoons as well. They began discussing the idea with DC in 1942, and it got to the point where they began discussing a bunch of cartoons. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be. The idea was abandoned. It's a real shame, because I honestly think those Superman cartoons were meant for Warner's best piece of animation ever. They're just flawless. In the late 2000s, there were talks of a CG cartoon of Batman and Superman beginning their careers. The plot would have been Clark and Bruce becoming friends, with Superman and Batman hating each other. They eventually find each other's secret identities and end up living in the same building. It was also a comedy like movie. Ultimately, it was meant to happen with the studio developing the show to make with Batman instead. Batman Dark Knight, a stupid fucking title, was a potential sequel to Batman and Robin. It was pitched by Alicia Pierre and Stephen Wyatt in 1998 and was heavily inspired by The Dark Knight Returns. In this, Brooks would give up his private career. They raced him to go attending college. Scarecrow would then show up and conduct fear experiments on South Asians, accidentally turning Kurt Langstrom into the Man-Bat. People in Gotham believe that Man-Bat was actually Batman. In order to solve the mystery of the Man-Bat, Bruce takes up the cowl one last time. Sadly, Warner decided to move forward with the project without the money, but you can read the screenplay for it yourself online. Batman Dead End is a fan film released on July 19, 2003, written by Sandy Kimura. The short tells the story of Batman confronting Joker in the middle of a confrontation. The xenomorph from the Alien franchise comes in and kills Joker. Batman then fights off the xenomorphs before battling the Predator, who arrives shortly after. After defeating the Predator, Batman is surrounded by young predators. And then gets ready for the fight of his life till the film ends. You ever seen Criminal Lane? It was one of the most pivotal moments of fan film history in 2006 by Fan Films Quarterly. Batman Scarlet Event, 1996 Elseworlds work written by Banks Allen Collins, in which Batman has abandoned Elliot Ness, whose federal agent charged with leading a task force to take down Alamo in Prohibition era Chicago. After finding it harder to take down rebels restricted by the law, he takes up the mantle of Batman to fight Poe in his own unique way. I really like this Batman Superman I love from the years of video games. Oh, and how could I forget? Elliot Ness is a real person. This comic is literally what Elliot Ness, real-life prohibition officer, became Batman. Wild stuff. Alias Batman and Robin is unauthorized 1981 Filipino musical comedy with smooth, consistent Batman series. It features several of the Philippines' most popular comedians at the time, like Joey De Leon as Batman, Rene Rodriguez as Joker, and Machito Alba as Penguin, among other episodes. There was a sequel planned, but it never actually came to make. Elmer Fudd vs. Batman is a one-shot crossover film between Batman and Looney Tunes run by Tom King. In this great take on Looney Tunes, Elmer Fudd confronts Bugs the Bunny for the murder of his sister. Bugs lies and says that Bruce Wayne overlands, causing Elmer Fudd to go after Bruce Wayne. After the brutal fight between Batman and Elmer Fudd, the duo confront Bugs, but it's revealed that Elmer Fudd's sister was actually a mother, and Bugs freeing Bruce so that she can start a new life after finding out that her brother is a hitman. The comic ends with Batman, Fudd, and Bugs drinking something at the bar, with Elmer muses leaving him guilty of death. This comic is insanely good for
I don't know why they keep doing that, bro.
On Thanksgiving Day, 1989, during the Macy's Day Parade, a man dressed up as Joker appeared, played by an unknown actor. He arrived on a float and threw money at the crowd, and then he started to sing a promotion for Batman 1989. Type of Gene also does some questions. Before interesting. Or sports in Vegas. What's in first? Where did they get those points? Batman 9 is a fan film released on March 10th, 2021, directed by Aaron Shaw. The film was made at a budget of $77,200 by an Indiegogo campaign in 2020. It's called Batman taking down Mad Hatter Jr. I will spoil it for you since it just came out. It's really good. I highly recommend watching it. So, who's the first Batman? Nope, not her. Not her either. Good guess. Oh, wait. She actually was. Um, okay, first live action Batman. In 1968, a Mexican film titled The Batwoman was released. So a superhero named Batwoman investigated a scientist who's kidnapping wrestlers to steal their spinal fluid to create a gilman. Okay? The film was notable for not being authorized by DC and, well, that costume, or lack of. Batwoman is played by Maury Monty, and I'll be honest here, I thought this was a porn parody at first, but no, it's no porn. Just Maury Monty wearing his tie.
How about we play this next hand with the Joker? If I was at the Joker place with you, for 17 weeks, not saying this clean from simply through the window. Yeah. Hey, Snickers. Of course you get a little bit crazy when you're hungry. And tough?
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers. Don't stop. Alright, we're done. I just want to thank everyone for watching the Transformers Iceberg. I didn't think anyone was going to watch it. Last time I checked, it was 18K. It's insanity. It's genuinely shocked. I mean, there are YouTubers I used to like, I watched when I was younger that watched the video and they said, good job, great job. It meant a lot to me. I said my comments on the video say, I was going to do any more icebergs after this one because it's tiring. It is tiring. It is tiring. But some people are like, oh no, why do you make more content? So I'll do more icebergs, do more icebergs, and I'm going to do other stuff too. Um, but yeah, there will be more icebergs. The next one I'm working on will be out within May, sometime in May. I'm looking for it. I'm not going to tell you what it is because then someone might make one, make the one I'm thinking of making, and destroy it. So yeah, that being said, thank you. If you watch this to the end, thank you. It's just a lot of fun to make. It was stressful a little bit. That's right. It's took a long time to make. I'll say that. But the last commissioner part, like the detective part, I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know. I never recorded because the first voice just kind of didn't work. Yeah, so anyways, yeah, this is the longest intro done. I hope you all enjoy it. Have a great day, night, whatever. Just have fun. Have fun with life. Alright, and see you next time.
You can now make this up with a toad and a mouse are friends at AutoZone.
So we're back to doing Batman stuff. Hopefully I can get this out in time for the Batman, or at least around the time of its release. I knew it was great, if you know, it doesn't really matter to you because we're watching this now. So let's talk about the weird world of Batman and characters related to him, like Robin, Gwen, Catwoman, the Suicide Squad. Shut up, I know Batman's not in the Suicide Squad, but Red Hood or Gwen are there. So is Deathstroke, Deadshot, and Game. Look, we're going to talk about some stuff from that too. Kingdom Come. From May 1996 to August of that year, an Elseworlds miniseries titled Kingdom Come was released by DC, written by Mark Waid and Alex Ross, with art being done by the latter. This story takes place in a world where the Justice League, including Batman, who have being superheroes, have the powers trying to kill the villains. And starts exploring a new hero named Magog, just kind of kills every villain under the sun. And with no other heroes around, a new generation of superhero beings rise up, and they just kind of go to town on each other. In battles that basically level cities with no distinction between heroes and villains. But anyways, it's Batman that all this. Well, Batman isn't doing all that odds, as he's one of the few superheroes left in the storm with Superman. Because Superman had been in for 10 years, and man is not exactly about to forgive him. His back is also completely destroyed, and he needs to use a back brain that's only an exoskeleton to help him around the fights. Until he goes to just needs a drone to do some crime fighting. I should also mention this family doesn't have an issue putting like inhibitor collars over a new security check, so he's kind of a overboldly gray Batman. This story received critical acclaim. This one has one of the best alternate stories. It was even used as inspiration twice in the Arrowverse, one of them being an old Batman played by the Batman himself, Kevin Conroy. Batman with a gun. As everybody knows by now, originally Batman didn't really have a no-gun rule. Why was this? Well, Batman was inspired by a lot of Pulp Fiction heroes like Zorro, the Phantom, and most famously the Shadow. And that dude didn't really have a problem with shooting criminals. Eventually, though, Batman was given the no-gun rule, and DC flat out just couldn't figure out a reason why he could use a gun. None of the other DC heroes at the time used one. So as soon as the comics began to delve into Bruce Wayne's backstory, the no-gun rules went into effect. Insert joke here about Batman breaking every bone in a girl's body and maybe a bit medical depth to our lives here. Bad Burger. Created in 1966 for the Adam West Batman series, Bad Burger was a fast food restaurant named after Batman. Batman Robin himself lived there at the time. And that's where Batman stayed for decades until 2017, when in Batman issue 16, it was brought back into the main DC universe. But this time the place is decked out in Batman merch. Imagine going from Burger Joint only to see like 10 different guys dressed up as the clown that murdered your family like 2 months ago. You might be wondering how this is legal in the DC universe. Like, can't Batman just sue them? Well, Batman's not copyrighted in the DC universe, so anybody can use the Batman name or logo. Bruce also eats burgers with a fork and knife. How rich. Also, real meat fish sounds very dangerous. Batman Town. Batman Turkey is a city in Turkey that was named that in 1957, but not after the character. Instead, the city was renamed after the Batman River. It's got a population of roughly 600,000, and this university there called Batman University. Also, its mayor until his name declared that the city would be suing Warner Bros. For Scriptful while they were making Dark Knight. With him, you would say, there was only one Batman in the world. The American producers used the name of our city without informing us. No lawsuit ever came to be, so it's safe to say he only did this for tourism or something. I really wish he did go to court, though. Imagine being the judge in that situation. Batman and Captain America. So, in my infinite wisdom, I somehow read to talk about the Batman and Captain America crossover comic from December of 1996. This is especially embarrassing because this is the comic thing with the iconic I may be a criminal lunatic, but I'm an American criminal lunatic. See. Anyways, this story written by John Bryan. Captain America and Bucky are given a mission to go to Gotham City to stop Red Skull, who's teamed up with the Joker. And of course, while they're there, they meet up with Batman and Robin. But shockingly, the duos don't actually stop Red Skull. Instead, Red Skull is stopped by Joker, who realizes that way to do the swastika's chest is actually a Nazi. But Joker ends up dying from this as both he and Red Skull are killed by a goddamn nuke. Now, as I mentioned in my Spider-Man iceberg, all the Batman crossovers of the Spider-Man 1, the Punisher 1, etc., Although the Marvel Transformers crossover all take place in the same continuity. However, this story doesn't. This story takes place on Earth 3839, and the comic also takes place in the 1940s. The author of the comic, John Ryan, also wanted to make one of the crossovers into his comic, but Marvel and DC at the time weren't interested. So instead, he made a sequel that just focused on DC characters, Superman and Batman Generations. Dark Knights. Dark Knight's Battle was an event storyline that ran from June 2017 to March 2018 that dealt with Batman and the Justice League battling a team of evil Batman from across the multiverse. This is where Batman Romance comes from, but when I talked about him previously, I failed to mention the rest of the team. The team is called the Dark Knights, and there's a ton of them. So I'm just going to mention the few that I found most interesting out of the team that either appear in Dark Knight's Battle or Single Dark Knight's Death Metal, or don't appear in either of those. So Roman anyways, it's not interesting. There's Murder Machine Batman, free world where Alfred was brutally murdered in the Batcave by Batman's villains, which drove him into an impression. He then asked society board to name Alfred AI, and that went badly, as Alfred AI went haywire, began murdering every criminal as a team gives a threat to Batman. And the big AI took over Batman's minds to believe that Batman couldn't keep himself safe, and he started murdering everyone. There's Dawnbreaker Batman, who's basically what if Batman got a green light to raid right after his parents were murdered, and then used the ring to murder Joe Chill. This is only possible after he corrupted the ring with his tainted soul. And then, yeah, he started killing people. He didn't really resurrect his parents as zombies, though. Originally, he only killed criminals, but then after a fight with Gordon, he killed them, and then he decided to kill the entire Green Lantern Corps, and just want to kill him. There's Devastator Batman, who is Batman who took the Doomsday virus and basically became Doomsday after ingesting it. He only did this to stop an evil Superman from killing Justice League. But after killing Superman, the virus being spread around him and basically destroyed his world. There's Castle Bad, which is a literal sentient city, which was created after Bruce Wayne decided to merge his soul with Gotham. And, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. There's the merciless Batman who became a god of war after thinking Ares killed one woman, and so revenge he decided to kill Ares. He became the god of war after breaking the god of war's helmet and got all of his powers. And when Bruce Wayne could survive and trying to take the helmet away, Batman was like, no, and murdered her. He then started killing criminals, and then his friends, and then all the Amazons, and I think you know where I'm going with this. There's Red Death Batman, who defeated all of Flash's enemies and then used their powers and gadgets to defeat the Flash to gain his powers. Kind of like a Mega Man situation. He won Flash's powers and used the Speed Force to ensure he defeated all the city's crime. He then absorbed their reality into him and then just began murdering criminals despite embarrassing him, making him stop. There's the drowned Batwoman, aka Bruce Wayne, who murdered every single villain in her Gingerbread world, and then said, hey, those biscuit Indians might be bad. They killed their queen as a way of saying, don't mess with the service. And then in response, I went to drown most of the world, including Gotham City. Batwoman then eventually performed surgery on herself to make herself aquatic, and then conquered the entire world. There's the Batman who frags, who I mean, he's just Lobo, but Batman. He took some of Lobo's species DNA to give him superpowers, and instead just kind of turned him into an evil Lobo. There's Batmobile, who was simply a monster truck Batmobile with the mind of Bruce Wayne in it. He did this originally because Batman was like, hey, I'm going to put my conscience into every digital system on the planet so I can watch everyone. And then when people were like, what? No. And so they destroyed every piece of technology of Bruce Wayne's intelligence in it, except for the Batmobiles. There's Darkfather, who's Batman for killing Darkseid, and after taking his powers, he then mastered the anti-life equation and altered all the parademons to look like demon Robins. There's Grim Knight, who's Batman who just loves guns. He even killed Joe Chill moments after he killed Bruce's parents, and later killed all of Gotham's richest people by burning them alive. Basically, he's Batman who replaces morality with guns and masturbations. There's the Batmanosaurus Rex, aka B-Rex. In his universe, Batman uploaded his consciousness into the mechanical T-Rex he had in his Batcave. And just like everybody else that I've mentioned so far, he was just like, I'm gonna start killing people. There's an evil Batman robot T-Rex, and that's just incredible to me. And finally, because I think I've talked about this for too long, there's Mindhunter, who is literally just Batman who stole Martian Manhunter's DNA, became stronger than Superman, and that just kind of made him bad, I guess. Dark Knights of Steel. Dark Knights of Steel is an extremely recent limited series that began in January of this year. 2022, in case you're watching this like a year later or something. It is scheduled to go on for 12 issues. It's pretty much what if Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, Harley Quinn, etc. were in medieval times. Kind of like Marvel 1602, just a lot further back in history. In this universe, Batman is the Bat Prince and is the bastard son of King Jor-El, which makes him the half-brother of Superman, who's the king in this universe. I don't want to say anything else with the series, though, as it's still going on, but if it sounds interesting,
Jesus, bro.
Jurassic This is an upcoming series being released in May 2022 that will go on for about 6 issues and tell the story of what if the Justice League and their villains were anthro dinosaurs. The concept of this comic came from both of the comic writers, Daniel Warren Johnson and Warren Gadian, who said they both love dinosaurs and anthro creatures. So they went to DC and were like, "You want to make a Dino Justice League?" And DC was just kind of like, "Okay, sure." This series gets inspiration from Street Sharks, Rival, TMNT, Primal Rage, and Age of titles, with the Joker Dilophosaurus also being modeled off of Heath Ledger's Joker. So, it has something. And look, Batman's a T-Rex. Again, Big Tom. First appearing in Batman and Robin issue 1 in August 2009, Big Tom is a villain who is part of the group The Circus of Strange, and is a very large person. According to the DC Wiki, they weigh at least 567 pounds and are 5'9". What are their powers? They got a gun that can fire off gas that makes people hallucinate, and they're large and in charge. Well, they're not actually in charge, they work for Mr. Toad. And that's kind of it. Big Tom hasn't really done much at all, just kind of show up and be weird. In fact, according to Comic Finder, they only appeared about 18 issues, both pre and post 52. So Batman vs. Hush. Originally, there was going to be another film set in the Batman cartoon's continuity, but it wouldn't be a sequel to Batman vs. Dracula. Titled The Batman vs. Hush, the film would have Hush the main villain, with Clayface, Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin, and Joker all making appearances throughout the film. This film was planned out for quite some time, but ultimately was scrapped. And seeing how there hasn't been anything related to this cartoon in years, I think it's safe to say this film will never happen. Batman Incorporated. This is an organization started by Bruce Wayne, who created the organization for traveling through time, which I mentioned in the last I spoke. It's an international organization that created Batman across the world, as Bruce Wayne handpicks crime fighters that makes them the Batman representatives of their country. Created by Grant Morrison in Batman and Robin 16 in January 2011, it's grown to include many different Batmen, like the Batman of Moscow, the Batman of China, Night Runner, Batwing, Redbird, Dark Ranger, Wingman 2, the Batman of Japan, the Hood, etc. But what some people might know is that this isn't a new idea. Batman Incorporated is actually a spiritual successor of Batman of All Nations. This originated in Detective Comics issue 215 in January of 1985, and was pretty much the exact same idea. It had members like the Musketeer, the Squire, Man of Bats, Raven Red, Wingman, John Mayhew, and the Ranger. Again, which John Mayhew wasn't like a crime fighter, he was just like a millionaire that brought them together, but still, he was technically part of the team. Condiment King. Condiment King is often listed as one of the worst villains of all time. Because, I mean, look at him. And sure, he's goofy and dumb, but I wouldn't call him one of the worst villains of all time because the difference between, like, Condiment King and, say, Big Wheel or, let's say, the Asthma Monster, for example, is that those ones are meant to be taken seriously. Also, maybe the Asthma Monster are meant to be taken seriously, but still. Condiment King was created as a joke character for Batman animated series, with an origin story that saw him as a stand-up comedian named Buddy Standler, who was brainwashed to ruin his reputation. Originally only appearing in the animated series, he would eventually make his comic debut in Detective Comics issue 1000, released in May 2019, where he shows up with his sidekicks, Salt and Pepper. A different Condiment King named Mitchell Mayo would also appear in The Birds of Prey, issue 37, released in January 2002, and is treated as a joke character yet again. And then he shows up again in Final Crisis Aftermath, issue 4, in October 2009, where he actually just dies. I love the DC Wiki lists Condiment King's one of the weaknesses being mentally ill. Oh, and yeah, Mitchell Mayo also shows up in Batman issue 9 in December 2016 in the mainline DC universe, and was originally a villain who then decided to become a restaurant owner on the island. But then went back to being a criminal. And now I will use this opportunity to explain how to make him a serious character. Make him a one villain at the beginning of a game, movie, or comic, then never referred to him as kind of a gang, and based off the 1982 Chicago Tylenol murders. But instead of Tylenol, it's condiments. You may think I'm joking, but I genuinely think this idea could work. Cancel Suicide Squad game. In 2013, the Lost Ark game, Batman Arkham Origins Wyatt game was released. It teased the Suicide Squad game at the very end of the game, with Commander Waller getting Deadshot, Deathstroke, and Bronze Tiger in it. Ultimately, though, this would lead to a game, but instead of the film, Assault on Arkham, which might still be canon. But anyways, it was actually meant to lead to a game set in the Arkham of the Suicide Squad, and it would have been made by Warner Bros. Montreal. This game was in production for quite some time, until eventually it was revealed the game was cancelled in 2016. This would ultimately lead to Warner Bros. Montreal working on another Batman game that was eventually scrapped and then named Gotham Knights. And before you ask, no, this game is not related at all to the new Suicide Squad game in the galaxy that's also set in the universe. The Dark Knight 4. After The Dark Knight Rises was released, there were a ton of rumors about a potential fourth installment to the Dark Knight series. I mentioned the Catwoman spin-off in the last iceberg, but failed to mention how rumors are going around that a fourth installment starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin John Blake. Never gonna go over that, that's such a silly name. As the new Batman rumor going around. This ultimately never happened, which I think is for the best. Sam Hamm's Batman 2. In the early 1990s, Batman Returns was greenlit by Warner Bros. Due to the massive success of Batman '89, and like any movie, it went through many different scripts. One notable script was done by Sam Hamm, the man who wrote Batman '89. This script had some similarities to what we got, like how the film was set during Christmas, there was a storm of bats attacking the Penguin at one point, and the glider gaming system. But for the most part, it was extremely different. Some of the most major changes include Catwoman using guns and just flat out gunning people down. Dick Grayson being introduced in the film as a major character. Vicky Vale would return as the main love interest. The film centered around Penguin and Catwoman trying to steal buried treasure from a Raven society, a very core of Owl's-like organization. The final battle takes place in Wayne Manor in the Batcave. Catwoman's cowl was a modified bondage mask that had spiked heeled boots. Catwoman is just humor with Batman, even lifting him up into the air at one point in the film. Penguin would live in the sewers. Officer Bullet would appear in the film, and Commissioner Gordon would play a much larger role in the film. So why did this film happen? Well, it's actually because Tim Burton hated the script so much he fired Sam Hamm after reading it. Joker's Boner. This is a really poorly aged comic panel from Batman issue 6 from 1951, where Joker's mad about how people are laughing at his boner. I don't know which one's worse. People laughing at Joker's boner, Joker threatening to make many more boners, Joker claiming the emphasis on boners gave him a new idea for a crime, or Gotham City ruining the day and mention boners. He also later says that Batman will make the boner of the year. So why did they use the word boner? Well, in the 1950s, boner meant something completely different. It meant a misstep or mistake. And just to wrap this section up, Joker's plan for Batman's boner was to trick the Batplane's computer and make it land in the UK instead of California. What a classic boner. The many marriages between Batman and Catwoman. So Batman and Catwoman got married, or been close to being married, several different times throughout the decades in multiple different continuities. In Earth 2, Batman and Catwoman were officially married in Superman Family issue 211 in October 1981. Though this is when we see them getting married, we actually learned that they were married in DC Superstars, released in December 1977. And they even had a kid together named Helena Wayne, who became Earth 2's Huntress. Sadly, this marriage ended in tragedy as Catwoman was murdered by a random criminal who used to work for her. In a possible future shot of Batman Annual 2 in January 2018, we see Bruce and Selina have gotten married and have grown old together, though Bruce would later develop into renal disease and pass away. In this continuity, they also had a daughter named Helena Wayne. In Earth 2, oh no, this is a different Earth 2. Catwoman and Batman were married once again, and once again, added Helena. We don't actually see them get married, but we know they were married. And we also know this marriage didn't end very well, as Batman is killed off in Earth 2 issue 1 in July 2012, and Catwoman is killed off in World's Finest issue 0 in November 2012. In the live-action Birds of Prey show that I talked about in the last iceberg, Catwoman and Batman were also married in the universe and had Helena. Though in this universe, Catwoman actually has superpowers, as Helena is referred to as a half-metahuman, and these supposed powers she has are cat-related. Well, not confirmed if they got married. There's a very good chance they kept with Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy. But they got married. I mean, the two literally retired together to start new lives on Senate Gotham, so I mean, there's a good chance. In the Brave and the Bold episode, The Night of Tomorrow, Alfred writes a book how he thinks Bruce and Selina will eventually get married to a kid named Damien. Very strange for Alfred to be writing fan fictions about his adopted son, May Catwoman. And the most recent and famous example of Batman getting married to Catwoman was in Batman issue 24 in August of 2017, where he proposed to Catwoman, and the two almost got married. It only didn't happen because of Batman issue 50 in September 2018. Catwoman calls off the wedding exclusively because she realizes that Bruce would stop being Batman if they got married. Also, Nightwing and Superman bring Batman to Batman for his bachelor party, and that's just like the funniest goddamn concept in the world. Arkham Care. As part of a viral marketing campaign for Batman Arkham Asylum, a website was created called Arkham Care. This was an in-universe website modeled off of the idea of Arkham Asylum having their own website. There's even safety tips on the website like no breaking in outside items, don't talk to people, and don't go near the freakishly huge giant humans. This website was thankfully archived in the Wayback Machine, and can even be heard mentioned in Arkham Asylum in the medical facility via the PA system. Early Calendar Man. Most people nowadays agree that Calendar Man is actually a pretty good character. Notably, his appearances in all Halloween, Man's film adaptations, and Arkham City. Also, his little cameo in the Suicide Squad was pretty funny. Hey, Pokemon Man, I was hoping you'd entertain my kid's birthday party. You fucking pussy! So his modern reception usually ignores his original appearances. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 259, September of 1958, Julian Day, aka the Calendar Man, would make his debut doing what would you expect? Doing crimes on holidays. But this time, he would wear different costumes depending on the occasion, though he did have a default Calendar Man costume. He wouldn't appear again until Batman issue 312 in June 1979, where he returns and says, I'm just going to do crimes every day of the week, and so it's a new costume reflecting the Norse and Roman gods. He even rocked an ultrasonic sound weapon, kind of like Lego Batman's Side Blaster. Ever since the long Halloween, Calendar Man has been taken much more seriously by people, though there are still occasional weird stories, just a joke character, like in the Lego Batman movie or the Suicide Squad. Arkham Knight on PC. Despite some of the story decisions in Arkham Knights being not so great in my opinion, I still think it's a pretty great game that every Batman fan should play. That is, unless you're playing on PC. You see, at launch, Arkham Knight on PC was so broken that Warner Bros. Had stopped selling the game as PC players.
Oh my god, why would you pass it over there when there's a nigga right fucking next to you?
2015, when the game was put back on the market, and even then there were still major technical issues.
Fucking make no fucking sense.
And Season Pass until the end of 2015. Gee, I wish game companies did that all the time. Their games are buggy mess that barely works. Joker 2. It's yeah, it's 2019's Joker was originally meant to be a standalone film that wouldn't receive any sequels, though it was supposed to star DC Black, a film series named after the DC Black label that would be an anthology of darker films based on superheroes. Outside of rumors about a House of Cards inspired Lex Luthor film, there hasn't been any updates on these Black label films. Anyways, as for Joker 2, the film began development in November of 2019 and has continued into 2022, with Willem Dafoe even expressing interest in appearing in the film. There's also been talks of a solo Batman film being made set in the Joker's universe, which probably won't happen as that would be way too confusing for general audiences. I mean, just think about it. You're not like a big Batman DC fan, you know, you like the Batman films, and you see like the Matt Reeves Batman trilogy, and then also like there's another Batman film being released at the same time. That's also live action. That's not connected to Matt Reeves, but it's connected to Joker. But then it's also not connected to the DCEU. It would just be really confusing. But yes, long story short, Joker 2 is most likely happening. Burtonverse Superman connection. There's a pretty popular theory that the Burtonverse and the four Christopher Reeve Superman films, along with the spin-off film Supergirl, share the same continuity, along with Superman Returns, I guess. This is because the canceled Batman vs. Superman film from the early 2000s was originally meant to connect these franchises, but since this film was canceled, technically they aren't canon, though Superman is mentioned in Batman Forever. So, I take that back, maybe they are canon. Or maybe he was just referring to the Superman from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Now, why would he be referring to that Superman? Well, in the episode Don't Tug on Superman's Cape, you can see the Batmobile from Batman 89. So it's possible that either one of these franchises could be canon to the Verse. Batman Arkham. Now it's an animated film set in the DCAU about Batman and Robin facing off against a collection of the most dangerous foes Arkham Asylum sound. Pretty awesome, right? Too bad it was cancelled. Yes, this was a film that was going to happen. Titled Batman Arkham, this film was greenlit after the success of Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. Outside of Batman and Robin fighting criminals in Arkham Asylum, the only other plot detail we know about is that Batman was going to have a new love interest in the film, though ultimately we know that relationship wouldn't go anywhere because, as everyone forgets, Batman's longest lasting romantic relationship in the DCAU wasn't with Catwoman, or the Phantasm, or even Wonder Woman, but with Batgirl. Anyways, the film was eventually canceled for Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. And before you ask, I don't know if this film was turned into Batman Arkham Asylum. I don't think so, but I've seen some people online claim it is, so I don't know. Killer Moth. First appearing in Batman issue 63 in February of 1951, Drew Walker, aka the Killer Moth, is an evil counterpart of Batman who uses gadgets like a cocoon gun, a flight suit, and star waves to try and defeat the Kid Crusader. But yeah, he has something balance. Normally, at least, but we'll get to that. For decades, Killer Moth was treated as a joke character, with him almost always losing, with very few taking him actually seriously. Though he did once learn about Batman's true identity in Detective Comics issue 173 in July of 1991, only for him then to get brain damage caused by being shot, which caused him to get amnesia. He's also the first villain Batgirl faces in the comics, so while being a joke villain, he does have some notable appearances under his moth belt. He also has a moth signal, a mothmobile, and a moth cave. Eventually, Killer Moth got a major redesign in Underworld Unleashed issue 1 in November of 1995, where he'd be mutated into Charax, a giant moth monster with actual powers. This version of the character would even serve as inspiration for Killer Moth's appearance in Teen Titans. This would last up until the end of Infinite Crisis, where Killer Moth was ripped in half by Superboy Prime in Infinite Crisis issue 7 in April 2006. In the post-New 52 world, he's returned to being a joke villain, though has occasionally been taken seriously. He's even taken seriously in the Arkham-verse, where you can see him in a tiny comic. You can even find one of his victims in Arkham Asylum, and it's pretty grim. Joss Whedon's Batgirl. Batgirl is an upcoming DCEU film that's coming out later this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I wasn't always looking forward to this movie. You see, the Batgirl film we're getting is not the original Batgirl film that was announced by DC and Warner Bros. Back in 2017. That film was being directed, produced, and written by Joss Whedon. Now, while everyone in the world, myself included, hates Whedon, he wasn't actually fired from the project, or at least officially. Officially, he left the project in early 2018 after being unable to come up with a story for it. But many people theorize he was just fired from the project, as in 5 months before he left the project, Justice League came out and said that wasn't really a success. Regardless, I'm just thankful that my wife, Barbara Gordon, will thankfully not be written by me. Polka Dot Man. Rising to prominence very recently in the Suicide Squad, Polka Dot Man first appeared in Detective Comics issue 300 in February of 1962, where he showed up to commit some crimes based on spots. His primary weapons are dots and spots, as he can rip them off his costume and use them as deadly weapons and other tools. And after that, his life went to shit. No, seriously, people forget that Polka Dot Man's history is actually really sad. You see, after being arrested and serving his time, he returned to Gotham City and became unemployed, despite trying to go clean. But because of his unemployment, he eventually became broke and unable to pay for anything. So he took a crime once again and attempted to rob a jewelry store. And after hitting an officer with a bat, he was then brutally beaten almost to death by Bullock, who was sick of costume villains at the time. And once he recovered from his injuries, he became a crippling alcoholic. He then returned to crime because of his financial problems and joined a group of villains, only for them all to be betrayed and murdered in Violent Crisis Aftermath 4. Polka Dot Man didn't even get a nice death, due to how caved in by a manhole cover. Very recently, he was brought back into the post-New 52 world in New Year's Evil issue 1 in February of 2020, though this version of the character has only appeared 4 different times since, and could have a history a lot less sympathetic than his old one. Because of how awful his power set is, he's become one of the biggest punching bags in the DC universe, even making joke appearances in Brave the Bold, the Lego Batman movie, and Injustice Comics, where in the latter he's quickly killed off by Red Hood for being quote-unquote useless. Azrael Batman. During the Nightfall story arc from 1993 to 1994, Bruce was unable to be Batman because Bane broke his back, causing Bruce to go paralyzed. A man named John Paul Valley was then chosen by Bruce to be his temporary stand-in, John Paul Valley being more well known as Azrael. As Batman, Azrael was a little bit more brutal than Batman, flat out saying that he believes Batman should fight criminals on their terms, without care for innocent bystanders, to the point where he lets a hostage die, and after an argument, nearly strangles Tim Drake to death and bans him from the Batcave. It also doesn't exactly help that at the time he was receiving hallucinations of his dead father, who was telling him that he was the real Batman. Azrael also uses a highly advanced bat suit he designed, and eventually after Bruce's back is fixed, Bruce decided, yeah, I gotta take this man, you're insane. And after a lengthy fight, takes back the mantle of Batman from Azrael. Because of how unique his armor is, his bat suit has been made playable in LEGO Batman 3, Beyond Gotham, and the PS3 version of Arkham Origins, even including challenge commands based on Batman Nightfall. I'm so happy the era of console exclusive DLC is over. Oh, you're doing right. Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. This same take on the classic original song Jingle Bells. This variation originates back in the 1960s, with the first written version of it appearing in the January 3rd, 1967 edition of the Lawton Constitution, where it stated that a woman that came from Belgium would sing this song around Christmas time. Since then, variations of it have come and gone throughout the decades. Though it's worth noting that the original written lyrics don't actually mention Joker. Gotham and Gotham Girl. Gotham and Gotham Girl were a pair of superheroes introduced to DCU Rebirth 1 in July 2016. Unlike Batman and a majority of the Bat family, these two actually had superpowers. And not just simple powers either. I'm talking Superman level powers. They didn't get these powers by normal means though, or as normal as we get superpowers. But instead they bought these powers at a cost. The powers were directly tied to their life force, so whenever Gotham or Gotham Girl used their powers, they shortened their lifespans. But I guess Henry Clover Jr., aka Gotham, doesn't have to worry about that anymore, because he died in Batman issue 65 in April 2019, after going on a murderous rampage after losing his parents. And this only happened because he took off his mask, and the criminal saw his face and was like, I'm gonna kill your parents. And I guess Claire Clover, aka Gotham Girl, doesn't have to worry about this anymore either. As in Batman issue 85, released in December 2019, Batman cured her condition by exposing her to platinum kryptonite. I should also mention here that Bane and Psycho Pirate manipulated her to join Bane's side and help take over Gotham. But Batman would eventually free her from his control. Deleted scenes. So there's been a ton of Batman films and films related to Batman characters released over the years. And since every single movie out there has deleted scenes, of course there's deleted scenes from these Batman films. So here's a small collection of deleted scenes from each of these films. These aren't all of them, obviously, just the ones I found most interesting. Also, films like Batman v Superman, Justice League, The Suicide Squad, etc. I'll only be talking about deleted scenes that have something to do with Batman himself or characters that are related to him. The deleted scenes in Batman 89 include a scene in which Robin one-on-one fight with Batman, a scene in which Batman saves a little girl in an alleyway, a scene in which Joker pushes Carl Crimson's lifeless body from a chair, a scene in which Vicky Vale stumbles upon two kids dressed up as Batman, and most famously, a scene in which Batman borrows a police officer's horse and chases after Joker in a dynamite truck, which results in Grayson parents being killed. Grayson would then be seen by Batman and wouldn't show up for the rest of the film. The deleted scenes in Batman Returns include an alternate opening to the film, which a Batman workshop was destroyed by the fire-breathing Goodman scene in the film. A scene in which penguin bugs light civilians on fire was cut. This scene was cut so the film could get a PG-13 rating. And finally, after Catwoman shocks himself with a stun gun, she would originally say, electroshock therapy, what a bargain. In Batman Forever, the deleted scenes include the film having a darker opening where a doctor in an asylum would walk into Two-Face's cell, only to find a guard tied up with a message reading, the bat must die on the wall. Batman accidentally enters a beauty salon, which everyone there laughs at him. An entire subplot was cut for the film in which Bruce blamed himself for the death of his parents. A scene in which Bruce gets his alternate Batman costume seen in the third act of the movie. There was a scene in which a giant bat flies up to Bruce. And the film had an alternate ending in which Batman and Robin would stand at a gargoyle together as the film came to a close. In Batman and Robin, there was an entire subplot cut for the film which Bruce and Alfred do research into Poison Ivy's backstory, where the two discover her secret identity. There was a scene in which Batman's Arctic suit helps freeze his ice gun. This scene actually made it into the comic adaptation. And finally, there's a scene in which it's revealed that Barbara isn't actually Alfred's niece, and Alfred mentions visiting Metropolis. In Catwoman, there was a scene in which Catwoman is chased by dogs in a junkyard that was scrapped. There was also another romance scene between Catwoman and Tom, an alternate version of Catwoman and Laurel's first fight, a scene in which Catwoman paints a cat mural, and a scene in which Laurel and Catwoman are talking in front of a mirror, riveting stuff. In Batman Begins, there's a scene in which Bruce disguises himself as a homeless person to take photos of Judge Fenton. And there's also a scene in which Batman crouches like a gargoyle on a building. In The Dark Knight, there's a scene in which Joker escapes Bruce's penthouse. Right before the bank robbery, Joker gives an old woman $100 and tells her to walk away or keep silent and see him. Rachel's last words were originally, "Bruce, Harvey, I love you." And Harvey Dent's backstory on how he met Rachel is cut. So the deleted scenes that are very right include a scene in which Talia Ghul, the Tumbler, runs over Commissioner Foley, which kills him. This scene would have actually given the film an R rating and had it cut. We also have seen Bane's entire origin story in the film. In Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, most of the film's deleted scenes were added back into the film, the Ultimate Edition. Some of these scenes include a scene in which Alfred angrily chops wood, and the scene in which Batman and Luthor talk in prison is greatly extended. In Suicide Squad, a scene was cut where Harley Quinn is arrested by Batman, who explains that she'll be going to Belle Reve for the murder of Robin. Monster T endgames himself after realizing that Joker was going to torture him to death. A scene in which Joker's damage tattoo and teeth were explained those cuts. It was going to be revealed that Batman broke Joker's teeth, and the damage tattoo serves as a reminder to Batman of how he lost control when he killed Robin. And there was also a scene in which Harley Quinn and Deadshot kiss. In Justice League, the fight between Batman and the Parademon at the beginning of the movie was originally a lot longer and a lot more comedic. As for Joker, not many of the deleted scenes have been revealed. This is because Todd Phillips hates deleted scenes. Two of the ones that we know about are one involving Sophie reacting to the Joker killing Murray on TV after Joker sends her a letter telling her to watch the Murray Franklin show that night, in a scene just known as the bathtub scene that was apparently way too extreme for an R rating. Todd Phillips claimed the scene wasn't pornographic or anything, it was just insane. In Birds of Prey, there was a scene in which Harley Quinn is literally kicked out of Joker's house. Deleted scenes in the Snyder Cut include Batman discovering a room in which humans are being turned into parademons. A 30-minute-long military subplot was cut from the film, and originally Ryan Reynolds would reprise his role as Hal Jordan and would appear at the end of the film talking with Bruce. But DC was like, no, 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 no. So was Zack Snyder then went with Jon Stewart. But DC again was like, no, we actually have plans for Jon Stewart, you can't use him. So ultimately he ended up using Martian Manhunter. And finally in The Suicide Squad, a scene in which Harley Quinn and Javelin talk about Harley Quinn's battle movements was cut. And a scene in which Thinker tries to convince Hogan and to join him was cut. He ultimately refuses and shoots Thinker's ear.
Presents Nacho and tasting taco. No problemo, man. That was close. Now you can get one of 5 super cool Batman toys when you buy a Taco Bell Kids meal. Like a multiple bat signal, you can collect all 5 missing toys only at Taco Bell. That's that cool.
You are watching Batman. Batman shoots a vampire. In Detective Comics issue 32, released in August 1939, Batman battled the Mad Monk, a vampire with an insanely long list of powers. All you really need to know is that he's a vampire, or a vampire werewolf hybrid thing that was later retconned as just being a vampire. Look, this comic was released before World War II began, when he won from it. Anyways, after battling a bunch of wolves that were summoned by the Mad Monk, Batman tracks him down along with another vampire named Gala. and finds them both sleeping in coffins, and Batman's just like, no shit. He then puts silver bullets into his trusty, iconic handgun and kills them both in their sleep. Robin 3000. Robin 3000 is an Elseworld story released in 1993 that ran for 2 issues. Originally meant to be about a futuristic version of Thomas Swift, a classic science fiction hero, the story was turned into a DC story after the company that requested this Thompson story being made, Simon & Schuster, decided not to enter the graphic novel market. And so after a few years, Brian Press and P. Craig Russell decided to give the story to DC, where they do some work to make it a futuristic Batman story. Anyways, Robin 3000 tells the story of Thomas Wayne, the Robin of the 31st century, who, after his uncle Bruce Wayne XX is murdered by an invading alien species, takes up the mantle of Robin and goes out to defeat the aliens. But he's got some friends to help him out. Like the Robin android built by Batman, a group of anniversary returns on the aliens. Together, they defeat the invading alien army known as the Skulls, and they create a new Batman with DNA the android had. I should also take the time here to mention that Bruce Wayne XX's father in this universe is named Bruce Wayne XIX. This Elseworld universe hasn't really been revisited at all since its release, and has been kind of forgotten at the time. Prometheus and Arkham Knight. In the Seasons of Infamy DLC for Batman Arkham Knight, there were originally going to be 6 villains for Batman to face off against. In the DLC we got Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze, Mad Hatter, and Ra's al Ghul. The 2 scrapped villains were Black Mask and Prometheus. Black Mask would still make it into the game, only to die in a pre-order of the DLC that spoiled the twist of the main game, but Prometheus never made it into the game. We only know that he was meant to be in the game because data miners were able to find mentions to him in the game's text files. Though many times villains pretended to be Batman, there's been several different times when some of Batman's villains decided to do a bit of cosplay of the Dark Knight. In Detective Comics issue 472, released in June of 1977, Hugo Strange takes a swing at being Batman, or more accurately, Bruce Wayne, in an attempt to taking over the Wayne Foundation. Though he does goof around a bit in the Batsuit fun, ultimately his plan fails and Bruce returns to being Batman thanks to Robin rescuing him and Alfred while Hugo Strange is arrested. In Outsiders issue 22, released in March 2005, Deathstroke pretends to be Batman in order to trick Arsenal into trusting him. He does this by feeding him information on criminal activity, but Arsenal figures out Deathstroke is actually Batman and the two battle it out. In Batman issue 643, released in August 2005, 2 in 1 year, Black Mask pretends to be Batman and even fights Joker as Batman. That is until the real Batman shows up and defeats both of them, though Black Mask is able to get away. So why did Black Mask pretend to be Batman? Well, to frame Batman for murder, as at this time, Batman was facing some pretty negative publicity, and Black Mask wanted to make it 10 times worse. And finally, we have Bane, who in Forever Evil Arkham War issue 6, released in March 2014, dressed up as Batman, but not to pretend to be him. Instead, Bane created his own Batsuit and used it to battle many different criminals in Arkham, as at the time, Scarecrow had taken control of the prison, and Bane had to take him out because he wanted Gotham for himself and realized that Scarecrow and his army wanted a portion of the city for themselves. Basically, him wearing the Batsuit was like a symbolism thing or something. He knew the criminals feared Batman, so he was just like, I'll wear this helmet to scare them. But, like, in all fairness, I think the criminals would probably just be as scared, if not more. It was just like Bane walking in. Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters is an alternate universe in which the DC universe is flipped on its head. Superman is the Son of Zod, Wonder Woman is a New Genesis exile, and Batman is a vampire. Created by Bruce Timm and Alan Grant for the 2015 film Justice League Gods and Monsters, in this universe, Batman isn't Bruce Wayne, and is instead Kirk Langstrom. He became a vampire trying to cure his cancer because the serum he created to cure this cancer used the saliva of a vampire bat to break down the tumor. This somehow turned him into a vampire because comic logic, and for a while he just kind of survived sucking the blood off of rats in the streets until he was eventually found by Superman, and then the two of them, along with Wonder Woman, would create the Justice League. Now, as Batman, he doesn't actually have a problem killing criminals. In fact, we actually see him kill Harley Quinn in a prequel short titled Twisted. And, yeah, this is probably the worst looking Harley Quinn, period. Outside of the movie, this single short, and his own one-shot comic tie-in, This version of Batman has never appeared in anything. Arrowverse Bane. In the Arrowverse, Bane has been hinted at existing several different times, most notably in the Batwoman episode King Kate, where we see Kane stealing Batman's trophies, including Bane's venom. But that's not all. In the Arrow episode, Elseworlds Part 2, you can see Bane's mask from The Dark Knight Rises inside of a storage room in Arkham Asylum. So I guess the Arrowverse Bane is a combination between the classic Venom Bane and the Dark Knight Rises Bane. Lego Zodiac Killer. So this is a really simple one that's 100% me just overthinking things. You see, the Riddler of the Batman was inspired by the Zodiac Killer, and since there's now a Lego figure of the Riddler from the Batman, you can technically say there's now a Lego Zodiac Killer minifigure, or a Lego figure based on the Zodiac Killer. Look, I just thought it's funny. It's like doing the iceberg. Secret Arkham Asylum Room. In one of the most impressively hidden Easter eggs in the last 2 decades of games, if you blow up one of the walls in the warden's office, you'll uncover a short tunnel that leads to a secret room filled with blueprints for Arkham City. This Easter egg was so well hidden that the developers actually had to come out and announce where it was. Batman Dark Joker, The Wild. Batman Dark Joker, The Wild is an Elseworld story written by Doug Moench, released in January of 1994. In this universe, Batman is the child of 2 sorcerers who created him to defeat Dark Joker in medieval times, but he's no ordinary human. In fact, he's not human at all. He's a monster that grew up alone in the wilderness fighting animals. This is because almost immediately after he was born, Dark Joker decided to murder his sorcerer parents. And just like how Batman is incredibly different in this universe, so is the Joker. As in this universe, he's a dark sorcerer with shrunken heads that leads the demon army. Eventually, this Batman and his newly discovered sister
I
decide to
cannot,
take
bro.
Dark
What
Joker
the
down.
fuck,
But
man?
his sister was killed during the first fight with the Joker, and so Batman, filled with rage, along with the rest of the townsfolk, joined forces to battle Dark Joker and his demonic army. And after a brutal fight, Batman
I can't do
forced Dark Joker down
nothing.
to his
This
death.
is fucking crazy.
Good measure. This universe hasn't really been touched on
Fucking
since
God, bro. Please, my nigga, man.
I've seen, most people didn't really like the story. Double Helix Justice League. To tie in George Miller's Justice League Mortal film that I talked about in the last Batman Iceberg, Double Helix were hired to create a Justice League video game titled Justice League Arcade. It was meant to release for the Xbox 360 in the late 2000s.
I wanna lose my
The game
fucking
features
mind dealing with
Laser
this
Batman,
fucking controller,
Flash,
bro.
Superman, Wonder Woman, or Green Lantern, which would lead you to traveling around the DC universe to battle villains. The story of the Justice League battling Buckle, who was leading a group of villains, consisted of Bane, Lady Shura, Sinestro, Cyborg Space,
My nigga, are you tired, bro?
Splash, Calypso, Bizarro, and
Come on, bro. Come on, man.
I mean, no Joker, no Lex Luthor, Ares, and like that. It's kind of odd. I don't want to select a number of different costumes to unlock in the game. As for Batman, as this is a Batman Iceberg, we get his classic outfit, the shaped Batman skin, the Bat Sorrow skin, and the Justice Armor skin. Anyways, what's notable about this game is that it's done. It's finished. You can actually play the entire game right now. Well, if you can get access to it. You see, the only known finished copy is in the hands of a YouTuber named Proto, who was able to get access to this build because of his own words. Well, this basically knows some guys, and that's it. I guess I should also say that technically it's not finished. It's still not bugs and stuff, but for the most part, it's done. He even has an entire series replacing the entire story mode, so I'll link that in the description below, or we'll unceased on the topic. So what's this get canceled? Well, you're gonna get mad. It's because Justice League Mortal was canceled, and so Warner Bros. Ordered for this game to be canceled along with it. Despite the game not being connected at all to Justice League Mortal, it was just being released around the same time as Mortal to generate hype. But it gets worse. Many of the game's ideas would later be carried over to Double Helix's next DC game, Green Lantern, Rise of the Manhunters. You're finished, damn it! Is it over? Dream is about Batman getting married. In Batman issue 122, released in March 1959, Batman and Batwoman get married, which Robin's first thought is, oh boy, I sure hope I don't get fired. In the story, Batman reveals his identity to her, and everything's cool. She's cool with it. She's part of the crew. It's actually not, as literally a day later, Batman hides her costume and gear and tells Kathy Kane that one crime fighter is enough. Despite Robin also being there, so it's kind of just like, woman should stay home or whatever. It was the 1950s. She doesn't listen and shows up to fight in a new bat suit, where she gets her mask taken off and the whole world discovers her identity. And Bruce's because she calls Batman darling. Robin then starts screaming at her, telling her that she's ruined Batman, to which Batman then starts violently shaking Robin, telling her to stop it. And then it's all revealed in the final pages that it's all just a dream. Luke Oliver. Luke Oliver is a very minor character in Arkham Asylum.
This is fucking crazy. I swear to fucking God, man. I'm done. Alright, copy.
The winner of the contest held 2008 to have their face rendered in Arkham Asylum. But Roxy went a bit further and even had his name listed on Joker's party list, despite it not actually being released from the cell, so I guess it wasn't like a top priority invite. The Eraser. Lenny Fiasco, aka the Eraser, was a supervillain who dressed up like a pencil with the Eraser helmet. He did this to remind himself every day about how he constantly failed in high school. Which, just side note, was actually a classmate of Bruce Wayne's. He also dresses like this, as it's a little reference to how he was usually hired to find criminals to erase every trace of evidence left in crime scenes. First appearing in Batman issue 188, released in December of 1966, he didn't really do much, as after being defeated by Batman and Robin, he just kind of disappeared from the comics. In fact, in this continuity, he only made like 3 more appearances. And all these appearances happened roughly 50 years after his initial appearance. He made his return in Batman issue 682, released in November 2008. Though it was just a hallucination, he actually made his return in Batman issue 686, released in February 2009, where he did nothing, and that was it. He has made a return to post-New 52 World, Batman April 1, released in January 2017, and instead of dressing with a pencil in this universe, his head just looks like an eraser. Man, he can't catch a break. He's also made appearances in Brave the Bold, the Lego Batman, because, look at him, he's kind of goofy. Batmummy. In Detective Comics issue 320, released in October of 1963, Batman and Robin take to the streets to fight crime disguised as mummies. Why? Well, the pair were hit by an alien device that turned their skin green, so they dressed up as mummies to conceal their secret identities while fighting crime. And Mickey Baylor in this entire thing is just kind of like, okay, so probably Bruce Wayne Dick Grayson. But then they show up again with no green skin, revealing the device's effects and more. So she's just like, oh, okay, so it's not Bruce Wayne Dick Grayson. I love how Bruce Wayne's first thought after his skin day turned green was to dress him as a mummy and not just like create a bat suit that covers his mouth. Batman the Whitening Gyre. Batman the Whitening Gyre is a sequel series to the 3-issue miniseries Batman Cacophony, released from 2009 to 2010. This story, along with Cacophony, was written by Kevin Smith and tells the story of Batman battling the villain Onomatopoeia, or it would be. You see, the comic ran for 6 issues, but it was originally meant to go for 12 issues, and because of the cancellation midway through, Onomatopoeia being revealed as the villain is quite literally the last panel of the series, though he is the main character of the story, as he disguises himself as the hero Baphomet, who wears a wooden goat mask and wields a crossbow. Oh, and in the story, Batman unmasks himself to propose to a woman named Silver St. Cloud, a character that was like introduced in the comics like 40 years ago, but whatever. And after she's like, oh yeah, I'll marry you, Bruce, he then tracks her down and rips out one of her hairs to run a DNA test on her to make sure she's human. Yeah, the man's a little paranoid, a little aggressively paranoid. Also, Catwoman throughout this entire comic is really out of character, and she's just kind of like, I thought we were a thing. I thought, what? Batman's like, sorry, I guess. Well, it's really weird. She even hires Deadshot to pretend to fight her to like draw him out so that she can talk to him. It's really fucking bizarre. It's a really weird story, not just for these reasons, but also because the comic is filled to the brim with Kevin Smith's crude humor. For example, there's a scene in which Batman confesses to Baphomet that during the iconic None You Were Safe speech from Batman Year one of like the best Batman moments ever, he pissed himself because of the heat. Ultimately, the second half of the comic would never happen, and Kevin Smith was just too busy with the comic. And honestly, probably best. Batman Demon or Tragedy. Batman Demon and Tragedy is an Elseworld story released in April 2000, written by Alan Grant, art being done by Jim Murray. It's a story about Bruce Wayne battling a demon who's slaughtering criminals. This demon gets the attention of Killer Croc and is making slaughter, so hires Catwoman, the soldier sold to the devil, to kill whoever is killing his men. It's then revealed that Bruce Wayne isn't just fighting a demon, he's a cage that the demon's trapped in. Alfred explains to Bruce that Bruce Wayne is just a cage, a great bad demon named Etrigan. This happened because over 1,000 years ago, Gotham was under attack by Metropolis, and so Merlin, yes, the wizard, saved Gotham by summoning a demon named Etrigan. And after defeating Metropolis, they were like, alright, Etrigan, can you go back to hell? And he was like, no, I mean, I'd like to, but I'm actually banned from hell, being two people. And so they contained Etrigan by a couple of city council members named Bruce Wayne become the host of the demon, which allowed Bruce to be mortal. And then Alfred's like, by the way, I'm actually Merlin. I give you fake memories of your parents being murdered. Sorry about that. And then Bruce declares he'll kill Etrigan. And this doesn't go very well, as Etrigan brutally murders Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Killer Croc. And it's about to kill Bruce's girlfriend, Glenda. So Bruce orders Merlin to cast the Forgetfulness spell, which is apparently the only way to save her. And the comic ends with Bruce discovering that Killer Croc, Catwoman, Commissioner Gordon, and Glenda were murdered. Which, yes, means the spell didn't work. So it's a bad ending where the demon still exists, and everybody but Bruce and Alfred die. The art of the comic is also pretty interesting. It's got a unique charm to it. Overall, it's a comic I actually recommend you check out, just for how bizarre it is. Legionary. When I talked with the Batman about Legions earlier in the video, I left out a single member that I thought deserved his own spot in the iceberg. Legionary, the Batman of Italy. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 215 in January of 1955, Legionary shows up as a member of the Club of Heroes, who took inspiration from Batman and the Holy Roman Empire. He fought crime for a while, armed with a spear and ancient Roman armor, until eventually he was bought off by criminals in Rome, which led to him basically giving up and becoming really fat. And that's just how he was for a while, until Batman issue 667 in August 2007, where he was stabbed 33 times by Wingman just as Julius Caesar died. He's probably one of the most pathetic Batman out there. Though he did have one redeeming quality, in the post-52 world, while he doesn't appear as he apparently died in this universe, he did have a daughter who took up the mantle and became part of Batman Incorporated. Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So Darkclaw wasn't the only Marvel DC combination character for Batman. In April 1986, the first and only issue of Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was released, which saw Bruce Wayne and Nick Fury being combined. Although Nick Fury still exists in this universe, so I don't know how that works. He battles criminals alongside Black Bat, aka Black Cat and Batgirl combined, and Moonwing, aka Nightwing and Moon Knight combined. And in this comic in particular, they battle the forces of Hydra, led by Green Skull, aka Red Skull and Luthor combined, Madam Cat, aka Catwoman and Supreme Hydra combined, and Deathlock, aka Jason Todd, Midnight, and Deathlock combined. Bill Murray Batman. There was a sporadic Batman film titled The Batman, set for release in 1985, that would have brought the character back to the screen, starring Bill Murray. But when the film was pitched to studios, they all declined, until they eventually met with Warner Bros. Who picked up the film. The film was inspired a lot by Batman's Strange Generations from the 1970s, and would have been an attempt at Warner Bros. And DC to make the public care about Batman again, as at the time, unless you were a comic reader, you'd only know Batman from the Adam West show or the series from the 1940s. Anyways, as for the plot of the film, it would have had the King Crusader battling Joker, who, like in the 1989 film, was responsible for Bruce Wayne's parents' murder, though in this version, he didn't kill them directly. In this film, he hired Joe Chill to do it, and then murdered Joe Chill himself. Joker would also be responsible for Robin's origin, as he'd have his parents killed. The final battle of the film would take place in an art museum, ensuing a special exhibit on writing, which leads to Batman and Joker fighting, surrounded by giant pencils, pens, erasers, etc. There's also a giant typewriter that Batman gets trapped in. And also, Batman uses a giant rubber band to launch a giant thumbtack into Rupert Thorne, which would lead to Rupert Thorne backing into a giant pencil sharpener that grind him into paste. As for other plot details, there's a lot to go over, like how Bruce was a child genius who created fully functioning holograms. Penguin would have been the secondary antagonist of the film and would have battled Batman using his umbrella that doubled as a personal helicopter. Silver St. Cloud would have been the main love interest, and slowly would have figured out Bruce was Batman. Penguin's goons were jetpacks about Batman. Rupert Thorne would be one of the film's antagonists, and would be supported by Joker in a scheme that lasted 20 years to get Thorne to power. And finally, Silver St. Cloud dies after Thorne shoots her. So who'd star in this film? That's not Bill Murray. Well, for Joker, David Bowie was up for consideration. And as for Robin, the studio was considering either Michael J. Fox or Eddie Murphy. Ultimately, the film would be cancelled, only because Tim Burton was assigned to direct the film, and he hated the script. So he had the film being completely rewritten, and well, that's how we got Batman 1989. Batman Fights a Christmas Tree. In Batman issue 285, released in March 1977, Batman had quite a Christmas adventure when the villain Dr. Zinzin escaped from prison and used his powers to trick people into believing that Gotham City Christmas tree was on fire. So Batman shows up to the event, and suddenly a bear jumps out of the tree and starts to maul him. But then the tree itself grabs onto Batman, wrapping him up in its branches. Zinzin then frees Batman from the Christmas tree and makes the bear disappear. That's when Batman realizes Zinzin's true plan. Zinzin is robbing Gotham City of its Christmas spirit by using his powers to make everyone forget it's Christmas Eve. Batman then tricks Zinzin to thinking he's forgotten it's Christmas as well, and so Zinzin's like, okay, I guess I'll explain my plan to him, which allows Batman to foil his plans and save Christmas. Crazy Quilt. First appearing in Batman issue 316 in October of 1979, Paul Decker took up the mantle of Crazy Quilt after being betrayed by one of his henchmen, which led to him being blinded by a gunshot. While in prison, he volunteered for an experimental procedure that restored his vision with a special helmet that was fused to his optic nerves. It worked, but it also drove him insane, as while he could see, the colors were so blindingly vivid and disorienting that he just went insane. And so he started committing crimes as Crazy Quilt. And as Crazy Quilt, he could manipulate color, viral energy beams, he could even hypnotize people. After battling Batman and Robin several times, he eventually grew into an obsession with Robin, as he was just so angry that he was beaten by a kid. This obsession eventually led to him beating Jason Todd almost to death because he was in for Dick Grayson in Batman issue 368 in February of 1984, which was also Jason Todd's first appearance as Robin. Jason Todd just can't get a break, can he? Since then, he's become a minor recurring villain that's even showed up in the post-New 52 world, starting in Harley Quinn issue 36 in March 2018. But you know what's really weird? This Crazy Quilt that I'm talking about wasn't the first Crazy Quilt. The first was a man whose name we don't actually know, first appeared in Boy Commandos issue 15 in June 1946. He'd show up a few times before never showing up again after Star Spangled Comics issue 123 in December of 1951, and his existence would be erased during Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Science of Batman. The Science of Batman is a college course available at the University of Victoria in Canada, where students can learn about how the human body can be adapted and improved based on the metaphor of the Cape Crusader. So, yes, there's a Batman college course. Batman in Teen Titans. While the TV series Teen Titans is primarily about its titular group, Batman himself, well, never shows up. He's indirectly mentioned in the episode Haunted, but his only appearance in the Teen Titans continuity is in Teen Titans Go. No, not that show. The original Teen Titans Go was a comic series that served as a companion comic to the cartoon, and was actually canon. Batman himself shows up in Teen Titans Go issue 47, where he's shown spying on his son, making out with Starfire. Kinda weird, Bruce. Kinda weird. Batman 89. Batman 89 is a limited comic series run by Sam Hamm that continues the events of the Birdverse. Kinda. It takes place after Batman returns and splits off in the timeline so that Batman Forever and Batman and Robin don't happen. It's still going on, so I won't talk too much about the plot, as I'll spoil too much. A lot of the comic season deleting Williams, Harvey Dent to become Two-Face, and has a more Tim Burton-inspired Robin and Barbara Gordon being introduced. Catwoman also returns to the comic, and Bullock is finally introduced into the Burtonverse. Also, the criminals of Gotham are all dressing up like Batman and Joker, kind of like Gotham City imposters. As for the rest of the plot, I'll let you check out this comic for yourself. And before you ask, yeah, I think this comic's going to be retconned out of existence with the Flash movie, or maybe not, I don't know. Batman Haunted Gotham. Batman Haunted Gotham is a four-issue limited series that was released in the year 2000, created by Doug Moench and Kelly Jones. This is set in an alternate universe where Batman faces off against the Joker, who, in this universe, is a Frankenstein-like creation that contains the soul of an evil mad scientist and the head of Thomas Wayne. So, not your normal Joker. He also battles werewolves, skeletons, zombies, demons, ghosts, and Ophidim, a demon space snake cult leader that abducts people and sacrifices them to his alien snake god. Should I also mention that Thomas and Martha Wayne are murdered by a werewolf in this continuity, and Batman later flat out executes that werewolf? They also die when Bruce is an adult, and both have been training him all his life so that he could one day battle the demonic forces haunting Gotham. Batman's also helped by Catherine Magic, aka Cat Magic, who is a fortune teller with magical powers. Overall, it's a pretty crazy universe where Batman's foes are nearly all undead monsters that he has no issue with killing. Clue Master. Clue Master is a Batman villain who first appeared in Detective Comics issue 351 in May of 1966. His real name is Arthur Brown, and he's a rather weird villain who's often confused with Joker the Riddler, as his whole thing is committing crimes and then leaving behind clues and puzzles for people to solve or to find them. He only did this because he had OCD. No, really, that's the explanation they gave. This variant of OCD forced him to leave clues at the scenes of all his crimes. And as for his powers, he didn't have any. Though he does have little glass pellets on his costume that he can throw as weapons. These pellets usually contain either smoke bombs, incendiary flares, paralyzing gas, or explosives. While a supervillain, he did try and leave a life crime behind early in his career, where he joined the superhero team Justice League Antarctica. This didn't last very long, though. Though eventually Blue Master will be cured of his OCD somehow, and was released from prison, he decided to celebrate this by committing more crimes, where he'd eventually be captured by Spoiler, which, by the way, Spoiler, aka Stephanie Brown, is actually his daughter, and is pretty much his biggest contribution to the DC Universe. He would later make his way into the post-New 52 universe, where he's continued being a recurring villain in the DC Universe. And unlike a lot of the weird villains I've talked about in this iceberg so far, he's actually taken relatively seriously still in the DC Universe. He's appeared in other forms of media as well, as he showed up in Brave the Bold, the Batman cartoon, even the Arrowverse. Batman Man-Bat. Batman Man-Bat's an untold story about, well, quilts. Batman and Man-Bat. In this three-issue miniseries, Batman battles against Man-Bat, who's trying to unleash a plague that will turn all humanity into bat-like monsters. He wants to do this after witnessing how humanity is destroying the environment. And so his natural response is, I'll just create a new species that will overtake humanity. Batman Man-Bat is an extremely graphic and brutal take on both Batman and Man-Bat, that's filled to the brim with morally great characters. It's also just, like, really disgusting at times, though the art is really great. Overall, it's a very sadly obscure eligible story that's a must-read if you're a Man-Bat fan. Batman, Digital Justice. Batman Digital Justice is an Elseworld story. Well, it's not technically an Elseworld story, but let's be real here, it's an Elseworld story. Released in February of 1990, that you can tell was made when the internet was just becoming a big thing. Written by Pepe Moreno and Doug Murray, with art being done by the former and Bob Fingerman. Digital Justice takes place at the end of the 21st century, when the world is dominated by technology. Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and Alfred are all long since dead, and the story focuses on James Gordon, the grandson of Commissioner Gordon. This new Gordon becomes his era's Batman in order to free Gotham City from a sentient computer virus created by the Joker. Because I guess in this world, Joker was an expert with computers. But he doesn't battle the virus alone. He's got Robert J., a street punk who's become Robin, and Shalia Romero, a pop star who's become Catwoman. Oh, it's also the Alfred Law. The Joker virus is the only foe they have to face. There's Madam X, who's the mayor of Gotham City, who's working together with the virus. Oh, it's also neo-Nazis, just screw it around. Together, they have beat the Joker virus and Madam X and saved the day. I mean, they don't, like, really, the city is still in the state of dystopia, but, hey, the Joker virus is destroyed. So, that's that. Digital Justice was a really weird comic that was created entirely with computers. Yeah, all the art and comics made digitally. Side note, Catwoman's design in this is very clearly inspired by the Machine Man from the 1927 film Metropolis. The Snowman. The Snowman is a Batman villain that first appeared in Batman issue 337 in July of 1981. And is a Yeti. That's kind of it. I mean, he's just a Yeti. Or half Yeti. You see, Klaus Christian, aka the Snowman, was born from a rather strange relationship. His mom was human, while his dad was a Yeti, and so he was born albino with the ability to transform himself into a Yeti-like monster. I should also mention here that his mom didn't know that she was being a Yeti. Like, she was lost in the lands and was saved by a Yeti, but it was so dark she couldn't tell if it was human. But she was like, I'm gonna beg my savior anyways in this icy cave. And she somehow did, like, she found out it was a Yeti, she just had, like, a mental breakdown. You can only say the word Yeti the day she died. Anyways, why did Klaus become a villain? Well, he needed money to travel around the world, looking for a perfect cold place to live. And so he began robbing places in Gotham City. Batman would then track him down to Austria, where they fight, and he falls off a cliff, where he'd eventually realize that his half-human, half-fake condition was killing him. So he tracked down his dad and just lived out the rest of his days in peace until comic issue 522 in January of 1983. Since his death, there's been other villains called the Snowman or the Yeti, but there's only been one other version of Klaus, who's appeared in the DCAU, appearing briefly in Justice League Adventures issue 12 in December of 2002. The Dark Knight ARG. In promotion for The Dark Knight, Warner Bros. Created an ARG viral marketing campaign to promote the film. Starting in July 2007 at that year's San Diego Comic Con, fake currency was thrown out. These dollars were all printed by the Joker, and on these dollars we had linked to a website, whysoserious.com. Going there would enter you into a game where you'd be thrown into the world of Gotham City, and begin rewards by solving puzzles, doing tasks, like picking up cakes from local bakeries that had a Nokia Joker phone inside them. Some of the rewards were audio from characters from the film, with the film's actors reprising their roles, and the first ever image of Heath Ledger's Joker. It was one of the first major ARG promotional campaigns, and is still looked back at. It is still looked at as one of the best all these years later. Batman and Planetary. Batman Planetary is a one-shot comic released in June 2003, written by Warren Ellis, about the team of Planetary, from characters from Wildstorm Comics, traveling to Gotham City looking for a dude named John Black. And while they find him, they eventually come across Batman. Now, since neither party knows who each other are, they start to fight, and that's when it's revealed that this dude named John Black has some genetic enhancements. These enhancements allow him to generate multi-dimensional fields which rewrite reality. When he uses this power, multiple Batman from across the multiverse get transported in, who all want to arrest Black. These Batman include the Adam West Batman, the Dark Knight Returns Batman, Earth 1 Batman, and Earth 2 Batman. Eventually, Black is defeated after he and Batman both discover that their parents were both killed by murderers. After that, the Planetary take Black away, and they never interact with Batman ever again. Batman the World. Batman the World is a collection of one-shots released in September 2021. Written by an insane amount of people, Batman the World stories are all written by people from different parts of the globe. From Russia, Mexico, Italy, Japan, France, South Korea, China, Spain, Turkey, etc. Each comic has their own art style and tone, which leads to the comic being a celebration of pretty much every kind of Batman story. I won't dive into each story as that'd take too long, and it just came out less than a year ago, so I don't really want to spoil it for you. I guess I should have mentioned something though. Um, there's Panda Girl. Panda Girl's a thing now.
Floating in my imagination.
Probably not. Just do slavery for the judge. Next time, Star now offers voice access to internet news, stocks, and email.
It's really nice and get email. Real me this. What do every river and money have in common?
Bank. Get my business news.
City Bank closed early today, Chris. It's dinner.
Today. Voice activated internet service from OnStar. Arkham Knight cameos. In Arkham Knight, there's a bunch of cameos from characters from previous Arkham games, or just other DC characters. For example, in Wayne Tower, we hear a voicemail left by Lex Luthor, who's trying to buy Wayne Enterprises' Applied Sciences Division. In the final cutscene of the game, we briefly see Calendar Man sitting outside of Wayne Manor, as he plans to kill Batman on Halloween. While looking for recordings while trying to find Barbara after she's kidnapped, you can briefly see Victor Zsasz. And finally, in Batgirl Matter of Family, you can find Starro hidden away in captivity in a secret room. Booster Gold in The Killing Joke. In Booster Gold Volume 2, Issue 5, released in February 2008, Booster Gold travels back in time to stop Barbara Gordon from being crippled and sexually assaulted by Joker. Does he succeed? Nope. In fact, he gets his ass handed to him by Joker, so he goes back in time again to stop it. But fails again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. It's not like ReZero, but instead of like him eventually figuring out a way to win, he just doesn't. He's just always losing in this. Batman would eventually confront Mr. Gold about this, and thanks him for trying to stop it, and even offers his friendship. Batman, Dark Knight of the Round Table. Dark Knight of the Round Table is a two-part Elseworlds story released in 1998 and 1999, written by Bob Layden. The story follows Batman, who in this universe is named Bruce of Waynesboro, as he serves King Arthur and rides around on a unicorn. He, along with the rest of the Knights of the Round Table, battle Mordred and Ra's al Ghul. Originally, he was exiled from Camelot along with the rest of his family when he was just a kid. This is where his parents were brutally murdered by giant bad demons sent by the sorceress Morgana Le Fay. So Bruce is then raised by Merlin, who is also a giant bad for some reason, and is trained in combat. He's given a magical suit of armor that allows him to teleport, so that's pretty cool. But Robin is brutally murdered by an assassin, so that's not cool. And after defeating Ra's al Ghul, Mordred, and Morgana Le Fay, the day is saved. The comic ends on a time jump to World War II, where the Batplane is seen shooting down Nazi planes. I guess he became immortal or something. Gearhead. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 712, August 1997, Nathaniel Finch was an abomination against life itself. Sounds harsh, but look at him. Before he became this, he was a criminal who fell into a frozen lake and almost died. Fortunately, or unfortunately for him, two criminals found his body, one to a shady doctor who wanted to experiment with cybernetics. And since much of Nathaniel's body was frozen, he removed all the frozen parts of his body and replaced them with cybernetics. So he became the supervillain Gearhead. As Gearhead, he can manipulate his body to be whatever he wants. Well, okay, it's like Venom or Sandman, where he can just like manipulate his limbs, like trigger whatever. He can just like build the stuff first. It probably takes a little time, but still, he's basically just a human torso connected to a car or a mech or is a car. He showed up a couple of times, and with each of his appearances, he just gets grosser and grosser looking. Surprisingly, Gearhead has yet to rejoin the DC universe in the post-New 52 world, but he has appeared in other continuities, and even the Batman cartoon, although he's a lot less gross in this world as a criminal racer. Tales from the Dark Multiverse. Tales from the Dark Multiverse is an anthology limited series released from October 2019 to December 2020. This series is a spin-off of Dark Knight's Metal, which I talked about earlier, and is about a mysterious man named Tempest who's traveling in the Dark Multiverse in search of heroes to help out in the upcoming Dark Knight's Death Metal. Now, this anthology takes iconic DC storylines and messes with them. Basically, what ifs. Now, Now, I'm not going to talk about every single story in this series, as not every single story involves Batman or a character that's related to Batman, like Robin. So I'll just quickly go over the ones that I'm not going to be talking about. There are stories involving Death Superman, War of the Gods, Blackest Night, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Infinite Crisis. Now, the stories that involve Batman-related characters include Batman Nightfall, in which in this version of events, John Paul Valley refused to give up being Batman and defeated Bruce and the rest of the Bat family, which allowed him to rule Gotham as the Saint Batman for 30 years. John Paul Valley keeps Bruce alive throughout all of this, though dissects him and tortures him. Bruce is then rescued by the Son of Bane and Lady Shiva, and is turned to a cyborg. Together, the three of them defeat Saint Batman, only for Bruce to then immediately kill the Son of Bane and Lady Shiva due to his perception of Gotham being warped and takes control of Gotham. There's Batman Hush, in which this version of events, Thomas Elliot's parents raised Bruce instead of Alfred. In this, Thomas Elliot grows up to be the senator of Gotham with the help of his girlfriend, Talia al Ghul. The pair turned Gotham into a militaristic fascist dictatorship and even commit Bruce to Arkham Asylum. Barbara Gordon creates a resistance group to fight back. However, she and the rest of her group don't actually defeat Elliot. Instead, Bruce does, as he's going insane after discovering Thomas had both Bruce's parents and Thomas's parents killed. So he becomes Batman the Silenced, and kidnaps Thomas along with Scarecrow, Penguin, Harvey Dent, and Jason Todd, and locks them all in cages for the rest of their lives. There's Teen Titans The Juice Contract, in which in this version of events, Dick Grayson accidentally convinces Tara to murder Deathstroke. Tara then takes the same serum that gave Deathstroke his powers, causing her to become a near-godlike entity. At this point, she calls herself Gaia and destroys a majority of the Earth by destabilizing its core. She then goes and kills pretty much every single Teen Titan, and then even Superman. With nobody left to stop her, she rules over the nearly destroyed Earth. And finally, there's Flashpoint, in which in this version of events, Barry Allen dies trying to restore his powers, and so Reverse Flash reshapes the world to his designs. Batman in this universe kills Superman, saving Reverse Flash, so that Reverse Flash will one day bring Bruce back to life. He later then makes a deal with Batman and agrees to rescue the Waynes, as the comic closes with him traveling back in time. Oh, there's also an issue for Dark Knight's Metal that doesn't really involve Batman or characters related to him. But in this, New Comics creates a new Justice League with one of its members being Joker, who's a dragon now for some reason. Batman in Bethlehem. Batman in Bethlehem is an alternate universe that first appeared in Batman issue 666, released in July 2007. Though this universe would be further expanded upon in the Damian Son of Batman miniseries, released through 2013 and 2014. This universe is set 15 years into the future, and as Damian Wayne finally take up the mantle of Batman, after Batman, who is Dick Grayson at this point, is killed by an exploding Joker fish. Imagine training a kid from the age of like 8 to becoming like the ultimate crime fighter, and the dude gets taken out by an exploding Joker fish. And after becoming Batman, with Alfred dying, Bruce dying, and killing a Joker imposter, Damian sold his soul to the devil. No, not metaphorically. I mean, he literally sold his soul to the devil. He only did this so that he can gain superpowers, like immortality and healing abilities. And almost instantly after he gets these powers, the world gets infected with a Joker virus and turns people into Joker-like zombies. And then Talia al Ghul convinces the U.S. government to nuke Gotham. It's a charming little universe where nothing bad ever happens. Batman Assault at Arkham 2. Originally, the Arkhamverse animated movie, Assault at Arkham, was going to have at least one sequel. First film's director, Jay Alba, stated in 2016 that he actually had plans for the project. However, just 1 year later in 2017, he left Warner Bros. Animation, so any plans for a sequel were scrapped. Spider-Man 3. In the very beginning of The Dark Knight, you can actually see a teaser poster for Spider-Man 3. This is because they filmed The Dark Knight while Spider-Man 3 is being released. So I guess in universe, the Raimi trilogy, and by extension, Marvel exists. The day Batman sold out. In a story featured in Batman issue 191, released in March 1967, Batman announced to the world that he's quitting, and that he'll be selling all of his gadgets. This leads to a live televised auction as people from the Wayne Foundation arrive to buy the Batmobile, or the Batclaw, or a Batarang, or the Bat-Bat, or the Bat-Boat, or the Bat-Horse, or the Bat-Gun. Or the Bat Sponge, or the Bat Dog, or the Bat Calzone. Are these Bat jokes doing anything for you? Because they're not doing anything for me. It's then revealed that Batman isn't actually giving up, and that this was just an elaborate plan of his to track down a criminal. This criminal is named Ira Renault. He was a person that Batman's fought before, and he accidentally fell into a thing of radioactive material which burned him and is slowly killing him. And in order to get revenge before eventually passing away due to radiation poisoning, he's been shooting radioactive beams at Batman's gadgets every single night, so that eventually Batman would die of radiation poisoning. Because Ira was the only person who attended the auction that wasn't the Wayne Foundation, Batman was able to easily find him, and the two battled it out until Ira eventually dies by accidentally walking into one of his own radiation bombs. CBS Mike Henry Batman. A few years before the Adam West Batman series was released, CBS attempted to create a live-action Batman show that would have starred football player and Tarzan actor Mike Henry. This show is intended to be exclusively for children. While this show would predate the Electric Company for a few decades, I imagine it'd be kind of like that, Spider-Man, but in the 1960s. Sadly for CBS, the show went into development hell, and eventually they even tried to sell the rights to the show to NBC in 1965, but were declined, and so the show was finally canceled. Batman hangs a dude. In Batman issue 1, released in April 1940, yes, this is Batman's first standalone comic, Hugo Strange turns a bunch of Arkham inmates into giant monsters, kind of like the Venom Titans from the Arkham series. After tricking one of the giants to murder another giant and kicking Hugo Strange off a cliff, Batman ensnares a giant around his neck with a noose and lifts him up into the air with a bat plane, lynching him basically. Batman then says he's probably better off this way, and then cuts the corpse free in the middle of the city. Fun introduction to the Dark Knight. Superman and Batman, Doom Link. This is an Elseworld story released in 1995, and with a cover like that, it's not surprising. Written by Christopher Priest, this universe has Superman and Batman working together out of Metropolis, but without any superpowers. Yet Superman doesn't have any actual powers in this. In order to gain abilities, the duo must put on cyberlink armor that also grants them the ability to interface with technology. In the story, the pair work together to capture Lex Luthor, who's terrorizing the city in his new power armor. After taking out a bunch of kryptonite robots, Batman trolls Lex Luthor by recalibrating Luthor's escape portal straight into a prison cell. It's a very simple comic that was only created as a promotional insert inside the Superman and Batman Cyberlink Armor multi-pack toy that Kenner released that year. Batman, Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead is a two-part Elseworld story released in 1999. In this universe, Bruce Wayne comes from an archaeologist family, archaeologists that mostly studied ancient Egypt, and so Bruce grew up fascinated with ancient Egypt. After his parents discover an Egyptian bat god named Mekran, they're killed by a hitman, and so Bruce becomes Batman, where he would then solve the riddle of the Sphinx, which gave him the knowledge on how to save humanity from upcoming polar shift. But that's only half the story. The other half of the story focuses on Necron in ancient Egypt, where it's revealed that he's not actually a bat god, but an ancient alien who participated in the building of the pyramids and the Sphinx. Necron wasn't exactly a good dude, but all that changed when he sided with Isis and Osiris against the Dark Lord alien Set. Necron would then write the riddle of the Sphinx, but at the cost of his own life, but he was luckily able to kill Lord Set before he died, and eventually history forgot about him. Basically, Batman Book of the Dead is Batman Ancient Aliens, The Iron Sky. In Robin Annual 5, released in June 1986, we see an alternate reality set in the far future. The story follows Triss Clover, who becomes the new Robin after meeting Batman, who isn't Bruce Wayne in this universe. She lives in a giant spaceship called Gotham, that's basically a tiny world. Think the colonies from Gundam. Together with Batman, she battles the evil forces of the government, and under Batman's orders, she finds the ship's navigational computer. Batman then orders her to set the ship's flight path to a planet that can hold life, in order to free the citizens of the ship from the fascist government. However, after doing this, Triss discovers that it's going to take 300 years for the ship to make it to that planet. Outnumbered and trapped on a now enemy spacecraft, she turns herself in, and the government decides not to throw her in prison, but to kill her and then chop up her body proteins in tiny pieces to be used as fertilizer. Rest in peace, Tress Clover. Rest in pieces. Batman got away though, so there's that. Canceled Gotham City Sirens film. Alright, so this film isn't like officially canceled yet, but with every new DCEU announcement, the film gets less and less likely to be made, so I'll just throw it in here. In December 2016, Warner Bros. Announced a film about the Gotham City Sirens, a team consisting of Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and my wife Catwoman. Originally, Jared Leto was also signed on to appear in the film's Joker, but that's probably not going to happen anymore. The film's director was also announced as David Ayer, with the script being done by Genevieve Robertson Torrance. The film was going through production normally until around 2018 when DC postponed production of the film in favor of Birds of Prey. As of right now, 4 years after it being put on hold, the only updates we've ever gotten on the film were from January 2020, where David Ayer confirmed that the film is still on hold, not cancelled. And Margot Robbie saying that she wanted to make Birds of Prey first in order to introduce audiences to lesser known characters, and that she's still actively pushing for DC to make the film. It's possible this film will eventually happen, but I kind of doubt it. The Two-Way Crimes of Two-Face. The Two-Way Crimes of Two-Face, a cancelled episode of the Adam West Batman series. This would have been Two-Face's only appearance in the show, and that's why it was cancelled. You see, the studio was worried that Two-Face's stars would be too gruesome for children, so the episode was ultimately scrapped. Though the script of the episode was made. And eventually, in November 2014, as part of the Batman 66 comic series, the episode's script would be adapted into a one-shot titled The Lost Episode. And very briefly, in the opening montage of the 2017 film Batman vs. Two-Face, there's a short adaptation of a scene from the scrapped episode. Sportsmaster. First period All-American Comics issue 85 in May 1947, Lawrence Brock, aka Sportsmaster, was originally a villain of the original Green Lantern and Earth 2. He'd eventually be retconned into a different universe known as Earth 1, where a majority of the DC universe happened before New 52. In this universe, you'd be a foe against many different people, not just Green Lantern, with Batman, Robin, and Batgirl being fairly common foes. Most notably in Batman Family issue 7, released in October 1976, where he and Huntress teamed up to capture Batgirl and Robin and forced them to compete in ancient Roman-style games against each other. Before being a villain, he was known as Crusher Croc and played professional sports. However, after intentionally hurting an opponent during a football match, he was banned from playing any sport on a professional level. And so he became a criminal that used sports-themed weapons, like exploding baseballs, basketballs, exploding hockey pucks, etc. He'd even go on to marry the Huntress, though he'd eventually retire from crime for a while after losing a Villains vs. Heroes baseball game. No, that's not a joke. In DC Superstars issue 10, released in December of 1976, a baseball team consisting of Sportsmaster, Huntress, Lex Luthor, Joker, Weather Wizard, and some lesser-known villains like Matter Master and Tattooed Man would play a game of baseball, their criminal careers at play. They'd ultimately lose, so Sportsmaster retired. Until years later, where he'd join up with Polka Dot Man and Condom King in Final Crisis Aftermath issue 4. Huh. This is the third time I brought up this issue. The last two times I talked about it, I brought up how Condom King and Polka Dot Man were both killed in it. Well, I'm sure Sportsmaster will be fine. Except he's not actually. Yeah, no, he dies as well, because of course he does. Though he has returned to the New 52 universe from Batman Incorporated issue 4 in December of 2012, and now he has a segue. Oh, I should probably mention Victor Gover, another person who called himself Sportsmaster, who first showed up in Manhunter issue 17 as a former member of the Gotham City Wildcats, who was falsely accused of taking steroids. So in retaliation, he attacked his former coach, but was ultimately stopped by Batman and Manhunter. The CW's Gotham Knights. In 2022, it was reported that the CW had ordered a pilot for a show based on Gotham Knights. No, not based off the game, though it's obvious the show is meant to write off the hype for the game. It's based on a comic team of the same name, which is basically just Bat Family but a bit expanded. And by that I mean it's actually not based on that team at all. No, it's just using the name right off the game. Instead, the show's about the aftermath of Bruce Wayne's murder, and will have a former Robin, we don't know which one, being framed for his murder and joining forces with the children of Batman's villains. So, the Descendants from Disney. I don't want to sound mean, but if this does end up getting a show, I'm not exactly expecting it to be good. Batman, Last Night on Earth. Last Night on Earth is an Elseworld story released from May 2019 to December 2019. Written by Scott Snyder, this story sees Superman being killed by Lex Luthor, which leads to Luthor giving a big old speech to the world about how people should take everything for themselves and that superheroes are bad. Well, in the Hall of Justice, Bruce was like, I'm gonna let this giant mob in. I'll let them choose to see what they do for themselves. I mean, we can trust them, right? And then the mob comes in and rips everyone to pieces, with Bruce being mutilated and set on fire. Only just barely surviving, Bruce then decides to take over the world and use his Darkseid's severed head to emit the anti-life equation, where he slowly began to take over the world. He became a fascist dictator who forced Catwoman to work with him, and even had Alfred executed after discovering that Alfred had released Bruce's clone into the world to discover what happens next. Oh yeah, the clone. Yeah, this story actually follows Bruce's clone, who was made so that after Bruce dies, somebody else can continue the war on crime. After being set free from his confinement by Alfred, the clone discovered the severed head of Joker in a jar. And so the two of them traveled the endless desert while being attacked by giant Green Lantern babies. Just roll with it, alright? And villains like Bait and Scarecrow, and a Superman clone. Eventually, they team up with a bunch of DC characters like Wonder Woman, Dick Grayson, etc. to battle Bruce. The clone even put Joker's head into a robotic suit to help out, and eventually they won, and Bruce was killed. The clone would then use a machine made by Lex Luthor to bring a baby Superman to their timeline through a wormhole. The Last Smile. The Last Smile is the name of a one-shot comic set in an alternate universe, released in Joker 80th Anniversary, 100-page Super Spectacular, released in June 2020, written by Paul Dini. In this universe, Joker has a recurring nightmare where he gets executed via electric chair for all his crimes, while Batman just kind of stands and laughs at him, and he's eventually surrounded by demonic Batman laughing at him. This ultimately leads to Harley leaving Joker, and as Joker tells Harley the story, and she's upset that she was never in the dream. Honestly, this story shouldn't really be on this iceberg, it's not too much to talk about, but Joker being flat out executed via electric chair is something that I just had to talk about. Batman, Dark Knight Dynasty. Dark Knight Dynasty is an Elseworld story released in November 1997 that tells the story of three different Batmen across history in a battle against the immortal being known as Vandal Savage, who got his power from a meteor. So things like the Joe Stars vs. Neo, written by Mike W. Barr. The first story is about Sir Joshua Wainwright, a Templar Crusader in the year 1222, who battles Savage as he's trying to bring a meteorite down to Earth so that he may gain more power. He's thankfully able to stop him, and declares that his family will forever be sworn enemies of Savage. He then goes on to tell the rest of his Templar buddies what happened, and they're just like, nah, you're lying, dude. So they burn him at the stake for heresy. The story then jumps to present day, with Bruce Wayne becoming Batman after his parents are murdered on the day of his wedding. He gets the idea to dress up as Batman by looking at a painting of Joshua Wainwright. He then tracks down the killer, Savage, who has hijacked a Wayne Enterprise space shuttle, and is again trying to get that meteorite. The two battle it out in the space shuttle, which results in the both of them crashing back into Earth, with Bruce disintegrating in the atmosphere, and finally we cut to the future, in 2500, where New Gotham floats over the ruins of the original Gotham. Think the Astro Boy movie, for all the two people in the audience who've seen the Astro Boy movie. The newest member of the Wayne family tree, Brenna Wayne, discovers a weird pattern throughout history. For the past 13 generations, a Wayne member has died while spending the last few days of their lives dressed up as Batman. And so then she decides to do that too. She becomes Batwoman and has a chimpanzee sidekick. She ends up battling Vandal Savage for the final time in space, where Brenna defeats him as she sends him adrift floating through space for eternity on a meteorite, while she returns to Earth safely. Oh my god, this really is JoJo. Batgirl Miscarriage. So in Batman Beyond 2.0, a sequel coming to the animated series Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis and elderly Dick Grayson meet up, and it's revealed that Dick Grayson hates Bruce with a passion. You see, remember how earlier in the comic I mentioned how Bruce's longest lasting relationship in the DCAU was probably with Barbara Gordon? Well, he impregnated her while Dick Grayson was away. She wasn't dating Dick at the time, so she wasn't cheating on him. But Bruce knew that Dick still had feelings for her. And Bruce then decides to tell Dick about it. And Dick's not very happy, to say the least. But don't worry, it gets worse. As this is happening, Barbara tries to stop a mugging and miscarries while doing it. I refuse to believe this is canon. I refuse. Batman Venom. Batman Venom is a storyline written from March 1991 to July of the same year, lasting 5 issues. Written by Dennis O'Neil, it tells the story of Batman taking enhancement drugs after failing to save a little girl from drowning. After she dies because Batman's unable to lift the boulder, he goes to her father and tells him the news. And her dad's like, dude, I don't care. Look, I made some drugs. Want some? And Batman's like, no. Maybe later. So then he goes home to take down the guy who kidnapped the little girl and gets his ass kicked. So then he's like, okay, I'll take the drugs. And then beats the shit out of the dude. After a few weeks, Bruce is completely addicted to the drug and starts going mad with power, beating the crap out of criminals. Well, as it turns out, the dude who's making the drugs is doing this to get Batman under his control. And so Alfred leaves Bruce because of his drug problem.
Hey, yo,
Bruce
what the
finally
fuck?
realizes he does have a problem, but asks for more drugs anyways because he's addicted. The criminal then tries to make Bruce kill Commissioner Gordon for more drugs, but Bruce refuses and has Alfred lock him in the Batcave for an entire month to rid himself of the drugs. After curing himself, he and Alfred then travel to the criminal's base of operations and takes him down after a few complications. Like how Alfred gets briefly captured and almost eaten by a shark. Batman Arkham Underworld. Arkham Underworld is a lost arcade game released in 2015, developed by Turbine Inc. for the iPhone. The game's about the many criminals of Gotham working together to create a criminal empire by getting resources and defeating rival gangs. There were many different characters in the game, but only a few of the villains were actually playable. These being Riddler, Harley Quinn, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, and Bane. While characters like Deadshot, Penguin, and Two-Face just appear in cutscenes. We also get the first appearance of Marco Falcone, so that's something. And during the main part of the gameplay, Batman will occasionally show up and try to stop you, so you gotta beat the crap out of him. The game is extremely loose when it comes to canon. Honestly, I'd argue it's not canon, but for some reason there was a really big push to make people know this was an official Arkham game, so I'm not too sure. Regardless, the game was shut down in 2017, so you can't play it anymore. And side note, this is the only Arkham game in existence where Joker is not part of the game. KGB starves to death. In Batman issue 420, released in June 1988, Batman kidnaps Ronald Reagan and brings him to the Commodore Hotel in order to protect him from KG Beast, who's trying to assassinate him. Later in the issue, Batman battles KG Beast in the sewers after the latter falls for a fake Ronald Reagan decoy, who was actually Alfred in disguise. The two battle it out for a while, until eventually KG Beast accidentally finds himself in a storage room while trying to escape. He turns around to fight Batman and challenges him to a death match. But Batman's like, LOL, wow, and locks him in there saying he's going to break his one rule and basically lets KG Beast starve to death in the sewers. After it's released, DC probably looked at this comic and was like, you can't have Batman just like let a dude starve to death. And so 19 issues later, Batman issue 439, Batman reveals that he had actually informed the police about KGB locked in the sewers. But for those 18 issues in between, readers were left wondering, did Batman just murder KGBs? Fun fact, did you also know that KGB is in Batman v Superman? Maxie Zeus and the Olympians. Maximilian Zeus, yes, that's his real name, first appeared in Detective Comics issue 483, released in May 1979. A former Greek history teacher turned crime lord, Maximilian Zeus created the crime organization, the New Olympians. It went by the supervillain name Maxie Zeus. Now you're probably looking at this dude like, well, why is he dressed like Zeus? Well, because after the death of his wife, Maximilian went insane and started to believe that he was actually just Zeus reincarnated. And I guess his followers believe that too. He's fought Batman a number of different times. Like when he kidnapped an Olympic athlete and tried to force her to marry him to become the mother of his daughter, Batman the Outsiders issue 14. However, he'd eventually disappear from comics for a bit, until he came back in the spotlight to try to re-establish Ares' rule on Earth. But during this whole big crisis, he faked his death and escaped justice, only for a year later to show up running an illegal casino and eventually get arrested there. Though he did eventually get cured of his insanity, and he even built a public school using money from the Joker, which which made Joker pretty mad, and so Joker blew up the school, killing a dozen children, which caused him to revert back into his insanity. Yeah, he didn't really have a nice ending. As for his powers, he has none. Like, you think somebody who claims to be Zeus would have, like, lightning powers or thunder or something, but, no, he's not. He was eventually brought back to the DC Universe post 2052 with Batman Eternal issue 16, released in September 2014, where he's now extremely jacked up, so he's a bit more dangerous than his old counterpart. Despite being a rather silly villain, he has shown up in quite a few pieces of media, like the Batman cartoon, the DCAU, Harley Quinn, and even got a mention in Batman Arkham Asylum City. King of Batman. This is the name of an alternate universe shown in Batman Shadow of the Bat Annual 4, released in November of 1996. It was part of an event DC was doing at the time that showcased possible futures throughout the universe, called Legends of the Dead Earth. In this universe, set 20 billion years into the future at the end of time, where we see He Who Dares, who is the embodiment of all evil, tell the story about how this lifeless universe started out. Billions of years ago, Bruce Wayne the 23rd led New Gotham City into a war with the Lizard People. Well, I mean, he led via, like, the monarchy. He didn't actually, like, lead the charge. That was Dick Grayson, who took over as Batman and led the people into war with the Lizard People. An enormous society of reptilians who are hellbent on taking the world over, as they feel the world is rightfully theirs. Which it kind of is. This isn't Earth. Humanity landed on this planet centuries beforehand and subjugated them as weak, and so they're kind of mad and want to take back their planet. But yeah, anyways, Bruce Wayne the 23rd stayed behind while Dick Grayson and his dinosaur army died because he was afraid of death. And when his people found out that he had actually faked going out into the battlefield and had Dick Grayson take up the mantle, they weren't exactly thrilled. And so Bruce takes up the mantle as Batman once again and declares that he'll make it up to the people and leads the final battle against the Lizard Men. The Baffler. Titus Zonka, aka the Baffler, was a supervillain that first appeared in Robin issue 1 in November of 1993. He's a former jackhammer operator that became sick of his way of life and was just like, I want to be a supervillain. He then teamed up with Cluemaster and began leaving behind terrible photos to let Robin and other heroes know what they're up to, which surprisingly led to his defeats and Cluemaster's arrest. Though Baffler was able to escape and swore vengeance on Robin, spoiler, and, he did get his revenge, because he captured both of them. Granted, they only fell for his trap because the messages he was sending them were mistaken for a child, but, I mean, he still won in the end, only for him to bang his head on a couple pipes while bloating and fall unconscious. So, revenge didn't last very long. And that was pretty much the last time he did anything of note. He has also not come back in the New 52, so just gotta call him. The Gift. Batman the Gift is a three-part Batman story arc released from June to July 2018, written by Tom King, and tells the story of Booster Gold giving Batman a gift for his wedding. This gift was Booster Gold going back in time to save Bruce Wayne's parents, in order to show Batman that his life in the present is so much better than the possible world where his parents lived. Seems like a nice enough gesture, right? Well, in this new reality, Dick Grayson is Batman and has absolutely no issue with killing. In fact, he uses an assault rifle to kill criminals, and yeah, he just kind of does that. Also, Catwoman's here, and she's wearing the Batman Returns outfit. And she's also a serial killer and doesn't talk, but instead makes cat noises. And so Booster finds her and is like, I'm gonna bring you to Bruce. And so he brings her to Wayne Manor, where she ends up murdering Alfred and Thomas Wayne. Batman then shows up to fight her, and in the scuffle, he accidentally shoots Martha Wayne to death, which causes Bruce to kill him. Basically, everybody here dies except for Mr. Golden Bruce. It's a fun little reality, one that Bruce isn't exactly fond of for some reason. I mean, I can't imagine why. And so he tries to get Mr. Gold to go back in time again to save his parents from Batman and Catwoman. But instead, Booster brings him to the night his parents died in the alleyway, and then another Booster Gold shows up, there's a quick little scuffle, and then Bruce sees his parents die again. He screams and games himself. So the universe is undone, and Booster Gold now has severe PTSD. Fun story. Mr. Camera. First appearing in Batman issue 81 in February of 1954, Mr. Camera was a supervillain who recorded all of his crimes. He did this because he just The thing for cameras, I guess. I mean, they do literally wear camera-shaped helmets. Despite being kind of goofy, he actually was able to record Batman and Robin revealing their true identities. And when Batman and Robin found out about this, they found the tapes of them, and, well, it turns out that, yeah, he recorded them, but not really. You see, the footage was so obscured, it was impossible to figure out who they actually were. So, Mr. Camera failed. His powers include, well, I mean, he can project lights, and he has a really hot light bulb he can threaten you with, and that's kind of it. Despite this being his single appearance in 1954, he's since become an extremely minor joke character in the modern era. For example, he shows up in Brave the Bold, Batman 66, and has even shown up in the post-New 52 universe in Harley Quinn's Villain of the Year in February of 2020. Wayne Family Adventures. Wayne Family Adventures is a webtoon exclusive comic series that started out in September 2021 and is still ongoing. And it's quite literally just one of the Bat Family a slice of life comedy manga. I haven't read it because, to be honest, it doesn't really interest me at all, but from what I've heard, people seem to like it. Not really much else to say. I mean, it's exactly what it looks like. The Bat Family just hangs out and does slice of life stuff. The comic does confirm that Alfred's in a good cook, though, which, actually, now that I think about it, that's always kind of been a thing. Sterling Silversmith first appearing in Detective Comics issue 446, April 1975. Sterling T. Silversmith was a supervillain who was obsessed with silver and only silver. No, really, like gold, iron, rubies, emeralds. The dude didn't want any of that. He just wanted silver. As not only did he just love silver, he also believed that the world's gold would become worthless and be replaced with silver in just a couple of years. So he was just trying to get ahead. He also murdered his brother and tried to smuggle his skeleton out of the country through a silver Batman statue. So, yeah, he's also a murderer. After being caught for this crime, he only did one other thing of note, where he kidnapped the crime doctor to learn Batman's identity. But other than that brief scuffle, he hasn't really done much. In fact, that was his last major appearance ever in Detective Comics issue 495 in October of 1980. Since then, he's only made brief appearances in the post-New 52 world, first showing up in Gotham Academy issue 18, July 2016, where he's no longer a criminal and is just a teacher now, though he still has an obsession for silver, and he has a cane sword. As for his powers, he doesn't have any, though he does wear his suit in as silver that can deflect bullets, and his silver cane is actually a secret gun. Legally not Joker and Harley Quinn. So for a various number of reasons on the show Gotham, a show that had pretty much all of Batman's villains, from Riddler, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Mad Hatter, Mr. Freeze, Hugo Strange, Firefly, Bane, Scarecrow, etc., they couldn't use Joker or Harley Quinn. For Joker, this is because DC wants to preserve the name for the DCEU, so they just created Jerome and Jeremiah as their Joker. But they, again, couldn't call him Joker despite him obviously being Joker. Or I guess not him, like them, because there's two of them. I didn't watch Gotham. I don't care. All I know is there's two of them. Well, we know there's the third one too. Whatever. That's not important. Anyways, they couldn't also have green hair, as that was apparently off limits. As for Harley Quinn, they couldn't use her either. They did have the character Echo on the show, and she was, I mean, very clearly meant to be Harley Quinn, as she was Jeremiah's assistant and girlfriend. She referred to him as Puddin and wore a Harley Quinn outfits. They decided to do this to Harley's character, as if they couldn't use Joker, then it wouldn't really make much sense to use Harley. And so they took both characters and did their own things with them. Just imagine Batman's surprise when he finds out everyone's talking about the Batman Happy Meal toys at McDonald's. One of 8 exciting future toys and vehicles with each Batman Happy Meal you buy or get. What is what you get at McDonald's today? And they've been in there so long. They're probably just toying with us, Robin. Batman Murder universe and entire cult. In Detective Comics issue 39, released in May 1940, Batman battles a Chinese assassin he calls Batman. You can't say that. Well, that's the least of his worries, as he finds himself in a battle against the Chinese cult that's kidnapped a couple of millionaires and even captured Robin and forced him into a gladiator match. Batman races in to save the day. Besides, I don't really feel like going Arkham mode and like taking out the entire group of enemies, so he pushes a giant statue over, which falls and crushes every single member of the cult to death, except for the cult's leader. Batman personally goes after him. All in all, Batman and Robin save the day again. They just had to kill like 20 people to do it. Joker and Darkseid, Trump. The Dark Knight Returns trilogy is well known for its revolutionary first installment, its beyond horrible sequel, and its third installment that nobody really talks about outside of Superman's bulge in that one cover. But little do people actually know, there's a fourth installment. Not The Dark Knight Returns 4, but instead a one-shot comic set after the third installment entitled The Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child, released in February of 2020. That is notable really only because a Joker impersonator, because let's remember Joker's dead in this universe, and Darkseid worked for a parody of Donald Trump. You see, they're managing Governor J.M. Bozo, who is running for president. It is represented by photos of Trump, and Brazilian President Bolsonaro is also a very bad dude. But they mostly just do like the Trump parody things. There's even a Joker version of the domestic terror group, the Proud Boys, called the Joker Boys, which is a little redundant because Joker's already like a terrorist. This is actually Darkseid's first and only appearance in the Dark Knight Returns universe, which is also something. And yes, Frank Miller did write this. Harley Quinn Cube. In Arkham Asylum, by the intensive treatment building, if you use mods to get out of the map, you can find a floating cube with Harley Quinn from the animated series on each side. As noted in Batman Arkham videos, objects like this are usually placed outside of maps to measure, scale, store textures, etc. It's also a physical object and can be walked on and climbed on. The Executioner. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 191 in January 1953, Willie Hooker was a former carnival worker turned bounty hunter. Instead of doing whatever a real-life bounty hunter does, Hooker decided to instead rape criminals out of prison and then kill them to claim the reward. He called himself the Executioner and had a giant E on his costume. He didn't do this for very long, as Batman and Robin would eventually stop him, and that would be the end of the character forever, never to be seen again. Until 2015, when Gotham introduced Nathaniel Barnes, a former police captain turned criminal, who called himself the Executioner. He'd go around killing criminals he deemed as guilty, and would eventually be captured by the JCPD, and that would be the end of the Executioner forever. That is until 2019, when Burt Eldon showed up in Batwoman, who was, again, another version of the Executioner. This version of the character was a former Executioner at Blackgate, who went around killing corrupt executives at Blackgate as a way of getting revenge for them making him execute innocent inmates. The Curse of the Batman. While many people love the Dark Knight trilogy, something that nobody loves about them is how the film's cast had tragedies, injuries, etc. often on set. While offset, Morgan Freeman, only a month after The Dark Knight came out in 2008, got into a serious car accident that left both him and his passenger seriously injured. A month prior to that incident, in July 2008, Christian Bale was arrested for allegedly assaulting his mom and sister at the Dorchester Hotel shortly before the film's premiere in London. And a year prior, in October 2007, while filming The Dark Knight, a special effects technician was killed when his camera truck crashed into a tree while filming. And that, of course, is the tragic death of Heath Ledger. All of these incidents have led some people to believe in the curse of the Batman, a theory that the trilogy was cursed. Probably not. It's more than likely just coincidences, and that's really it. Second Batman Beyond film. As revealed by Bruce Timm, there were talks about a second Batman Beyond film that would ultimately be scrapped because of how controversial Return of the Joker was. You see, this second film would have focused on Catwoman, and would have been, quote, really dark. I mean, pitch black. It was never scripted, it only had a 45-minute impromptu plotting session between Glenn Murakami and Bruce Timm. Despite this, we actually know quite a few plot details that would have been in the film. First, it was going to be revealed that Selena Kyle had actually cloned Bruce instead of Amanda Waller. In fact, she created a ton of Bruce Wayne clones, and eventually, when they get to a proper age, she'd come in and murder their foster parents in an attempt to create more Batman. But this didn't really work, as only Terry and another boy that she'd raised as her own son would eventually become Batman-like characters. This clone Bruce would have been one of the main antagonists of the film, and would have killed several recurring Batman Beyond villains and an elderly Riddler to catch the attention of Terry. So you're probably now thinking, why would Catwoman do this? Well, because she realized that Batman was right, and that she should use her talents to help people out, not hurt people. So she decided to create a Batman who would kill criminals in order to help people. Overall, this was an interesting idea for a film, but like I said, it didn't end up happening because Return of the Joker was already viewed as too dark. Harley Quinn kills Hitler. So DC bombshells, the universe where the female superheroes in the DC universe defend the United States from Nazis and other evildoers during World War II. Originally just a line of figures written by DC, they gained the line in their own comic series. Each of the main characters in this universe are designed to be like World War II pinup girls. Harley Quinn, Batgirl, Batwoman, and Amanda Waller are just some of the Batman-related characters that exist in this world. But you're probably wondering, that's great and all, but how did Harley Quinn kill Hitler? Well, as revealed in Harley's Little Black Book, issue 4, released in October 2016, Harley Quinn from the New 52 universe travels to the DC Bombshells universe and gets into a little scuffle with Hitler in his car, which ultimately leads to Harley driving his car off a cliff and shooting the engine, blowing up the car, presumably killing him. This is all cool and great, but nothing's ever going to top how Duke Nukem managed to take Hitler down. Scrapped Peacemaker cameo. In the Peacemaker Season 1 finale, Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, and Aquaman show up to save the day, but are late to the party. In this cameo, only Flash and Aquaman were played by their respective DCU actors, while Wonder Woman and Superman were just body doubles. Originally, this scene was going to include the entire Justice League, but since Warner Bros. Has no plans for Cyborg was never intended to show up. So they originally shot the scene with the entire Justice League, minus Cyborg, meaning that yes, Batman was also there, but due to Warner Bros. Wanting to get rid of Batfleck, they told James Gunn they couldn't use Batman, so they had to edit out Matt Turner, who was playing Batman here. Weird that they're removing Batfleck from the DCU with the Flash, which is like set after Peacemaker Season 1. Like, why couldn't he have shown up here as like a little thing before getting just like sent off? Kind of weird. Sweet Tooth. First appearing in, and only appearing in, the New Adventures of Batman cartoon in the late 70s, Sweet Tooth was a supervillain with two goals in mind: to turn Gotham City's water supply into fudge, where he'd then restore the water, but only after Gotham City paid a ransom. The other goal was to make every child in Gotham addicted to candy, where he'd then groom them into being obese, candy-addicted criminals like him, at his sweet sportsman. Sportsmaster isn't the only sports-themed villain to face off against Batman. First appearing in Batman issue 338 in August 1981, Mark Mantle Jr. had no interest in sports as a kid, which really pissed off his evil scientist father, who decided to create a super serum to make him the ultimate athlete. When Mark's mom found out, there was a divorce, and that was it. The dad was never sent to jail. Later in life, Martin would become an athlete because of the serum, but eventually the serum began to destroy his body with a deadly disease. So, naturally, Martin took up the mantle of sportsman and began murdering top sports stars until Batman would eventually stop him. He didn't really have any powers, he was just kind of like a really good athlete who was a serial killer, so he had like knives and exploding hockey pucks and stuff. Since this appearance, he has never, ever returned, and in this continuity, probably died in prison. Batman Nevermore. Batman Nevermore is an Elseworld story that ran for 5 issues. It tells the story of Edgar Allan Poe working alongside Batman in the late 1800s to stop a man who's been murdering Baltimore's elites. There's also a giant raven monster involved because it's Edgar Allan Poe. This giant raven monster would eventually be revealed to be a creation of Scarecrow, who's the story's true main antagonist. Written by Len Wein, this miniseries has sadly been kind of forgotten about, despite it having a fairly unique and interesting variation of Scarecrow, and it's one of the longer Elseworld miniseries. The Graysons. The Graysons was a canceled CW show in the late 2000s that would have focused on Dick Grayson's years before becoming Robin. So it basically would have been Smallville, but for Robin. The Graysons was announced in October 2008, but was cancelled literally a month later, with Warner Bros. Executive Jeff Robinov saying the concept of the show did not fit with the aim of the current Batman franchise. Which, yes, means that because The Dark Knight happened, the Graysons didn't. Batman, the Blue, the Gray, and the Bat. The Blue, the Gray, and the Bat is an Elseworld story released in 1993, written by Elliot S. Maggin and Alan West. As the name suggests, is a story taking place in the Old West, as Colonel Bruce Wayne takes up the mantle of Batman to protect the shipment of gold from Abraham Lincoln. This job turns into a Wild West adventure, as his Bat horse is killed, and he eventually takes up a sidekick named Redbird, a young Native American boy, and battles both Native Americans and bloody Bob Armstrong of the Strong Arm Boys. It's your standard rootin' tootin' cowboy western story, with Batman very loosely thrown in. No, really, outside of Batman, Alfred, and Robin, there's no other DC characters who get westernified. Not even a single Batman villain, which is a real missed opportunity. In fact, you would expect, like, Jonah Hex to show up, but no, he doesn't either. Film Freak. First appearing in Batman issue 395, released in May 1986, Burt Weston was a failed actor who loved playing villains, because he claimed that they were more complex than heroes. So naturally, he'd eventually become a supervillain after faking his death, to get publicity. But that didn't really work because everyone kind of forgot about him. So now as the villain, Film Freak, he commits crimes based off of old films, like Whiteheart, King Kong, Planet of the Apes, To Catch a Thief, Psycho, and The Sting. He didn't really have any, like, powers. He was just kind of a film nerd who dressed up as a gorilla once to murder a woman because it was like, it's like King Kong. Duke was defeated fairly quickly and wouldn't appear too often in the comics. In fact, in Batman issue 492 in May 1993, he died after being put under Mad Hatter's control, and was pretty brutally killed by Bane. There would be other film freaks, though, as in Catwoman issue 54 in June 2006, another film freak hosted a late-night show where he displayed films made by his minions. And that's kind of really it. I mean, there's not really much to say about this dude. He was just kind of like, again, a film freak. Most recently, this version of Film Freak actually made the jump to New 52 as part of the Suicide Squad in Batman issue 14 in March 2017, only to die after like a handful of appearances. Paul is dead. In Batman issue 222, released in June 1970, Batman and Robin tackle the Paul is dead conspiracy theory. In the story, the duo meet the Oliver Twists, the DC Universe's version of the Beatles. But Robin is convinced the band member Saul Cartwright is actually dead and that he's been replaced with an imposter. And so the two begin an investigation on Saul, only to discover that Saul isn't actually dead. The rest of the band is. You see, everybody but him was replaced as the rest of the band died in a plane crash, and Saul started up the rumors about his own death to draw the attention towards him. This ultimately leads to the Oliver Twists breaking up and the conspiracy being solved. Lord Deathman's cruel fate. So Lord Deathman is a pretty crazy supervillain with powers to regenerate from injuries. Also, he dresses like a Call of Duty operator bundle, so that's something. Apparently his costume is, like, embedded in his skin, so he can't take it off, so that's hell. In Batman Incorporated issue 2, released in December 2010, Lord Deathman's most recent battle against the Cape Crusader comes to an end, when Batman throws him off a rooftop, defeating him. But before he does that, he says he's going to give Lord Deathman a fate worse than death, probably in response to Lord Deathman killing Jiro, the Batman of Japan. So Batman has the Japanese space program place him in a satellite and launch him into space. doomed to slowly die alone in a freezing vacuum in space, only to regenerate and repeat the process endlessly. But wait, Batman knew that Jiro just faked his death. So why would he do this if he knew that he was just gonna... Okay. Luckily for Lord Deathman, he did eventually escape the satellite and battle Batman once again. But there was a period of time where readers were just like, oh, Batman just launched a stupid order for like no reason. Shakura the Magician. So there exists a 30-page comic titled Nagraji versus Shakura the Magician, which is a bootleg comic starring the Indian superhero Nagraji, who battles the space magician Shakura. It's a pretty wacky comic that's only on this iceberg, because the author and artist illegally used Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman in the comic as Nagraji's best friends. And so the story has the four of them teaming up to take down the space mage with the help of a Hindu saint. Superman also throws a dude into an active volcano, which, yes, kills him, so, there's that too. They also murder Captain Lou Albano, which, that's not cool. That's not cool at all, actually. It's also not very cool that they take out Shakura the Magician off panel, so you don't even see, like, the end of that fight. Also, as expected of Batman in this situation, he just, like, doesn't really do anything throughout it. He just kind of just appears. Like Superman and Spider-Man do all the heavy lifting, you know. The Made of Wood Killer. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 786, November 2003, Samuel Sullivan was a poor Irish immigrant who moved to Gotham City. And after having his store destroyed by Sportsmaster during a battle with Green Lantern, he lost faith in the land of opportunity, and so decided to murder the mayor of Gotham City with a wooden bat, as the mayor had apparently given Gotham citizens false hope. He then decided to carve native wood into his chest because of symbolism or something, I don't know. Decades later, his grandson Francis Sullivan would discover Samuel's notebook and decided to become the second native wood killer, only to be defeated by Batman and Green Lantern almost immediately. Granted, he did capture Commissioner Gordon, so there's that. As for his powers, well, neither native wood killer has any powers, they just have a wooden baseball bat. Batman of Shanghai. Batman of Shanghai is a three-part short series released on Cartoon Network's DC Nation blog in 2012. It takes the Batman characters, well, just three of them, and places them in 1930s Shanghai. Animated by Wolf Smoke Studios, the story of Batman of Shanghai has Catwoman and Bane battling over the legendary Scroll of Destiny, only for Batman to show up in the middle of it and then take it for himself. Yeah, there's not really much plot here, it's mostly just action. One last thing to note, though, is that this is one of the few universes where Batman has superpowers, as he can now transform his body into a flock of bats. Penguin and Catwoman have sex and they cure COVID-19. In Gotham City Anniversary Giants, released in November 2021, there's a story written by, yeah, I'm not kidding, Danny DeVito. This story is titled Bird Cat Love. And in it, Penguin, who looks just like his Batman Returns variation, so the Danny DeVito Penguin, and Catwoman are in a relationship, and the two just are constantly banging, until eventually they adopt 3 penguins and 3 cats as their kids. They then cure COVID-19 by forcefully vaccinating everyone by making the vaccine airborne. Why did Danny DeVito make this? Well, he explained, and I quote, "At first, I was a little bit hesitant about doing the comic, but then I got into the fact that I've always been a big fan of Michelle Pfeiffer, and the Penguin obviously busted out for Catwoman. So I figured I'd put those two together. And then it was also the middle of the pandemic, which we're still fighting with. I thought it'd be good if Penguin had a little bit of Robin Hood in him. So he basically wrote a fan fiction about himself making Catwoman and ending COVID. Thrill Killer. Thrill Killer is a 4-part Elseworld miniseries released from January 1997 to March 1998, written by Howard Chaykin. It takes place in 1961, and in this universe, Bruce Wayne is a detective who is often sent after crime-fighting vigilantes, with his most recent case involving Batgirl and Robin. Batgirl in this universe is still Barbara Gordon, but this time she's a millionaire who buys Wayne Manor from the Waynes, since the Wayne family was ruined by the Great Depression. She's also in love with Bruce, which is a problem for Robin because Regardless Cross Stark, which is the name of Robin in this universe, is actually in love with her. So it's a little love triangle going on. And speaking of love, Joker's a woman in this universe, but is still in a relationship with Harley Quinn. Though she's also married and has a husband, so she's cheating. Not exactly the most evil thing Joker's done, but still pretty mean. Anyways, back to the story. Bruce goes after the duo, but when Robin is eventually killed by Joker, Bruce wants to become the Batman to team up with Batgirl to take down the criminals. Batman, I Joker. I Joker is an Elseworlds story released in 1998, written by Bob Hall. It's a really strange story of the Night of Blood, a religious event where people come to defeat the Bruce and become the new Batman. Basically, just like a big Batman cult. This religious event requires people to face off against surgically altered people who've also been brainwashed into thinking they're either Riddler, Ra's al Ghul, Two-Face, Penguin, or the Joker. This, of course, isn't something that everybody likes, and so a resistance group is created to combat the Bruce and his weird Batman cults. The leader of the resistance may be named Joe Collins. However, sadly for Joe, he gets captured and turned into the Joker for the Night of Blood. However, unlike everybody else, his memories aren't wiped, and so he escapes the cult and finds the original Batcave, where he also finds the original Batsuit. Putting it on, he challenges the Bruce to a fight to the death, and eventually Bruce is killed, and with that, his Batman cult slowly begins to die. And so now Joe and his wife carry on as Batman and Robin. The Narrow Path. In Robin Annual 3, released in September of 1994, an alternate universe is introduced called The Narrow Path. This universe is set in ancient Japan and follows Tengu. This universe is Robin, as he's trained to be the next Batman, or I guess Bat Ninja in this universe. After his master Bat Ninja is murdered by ninjas, Robin travels to Asuka Castle to deliver a hidden message stored in his family's sword to their lord, Toyotame Hidori, a real historical figure. However, when he gets to the castle, it's under siege, and he has to team up with Cat Ninja to defend it. While there, he finally meets up with Hidori, who reveals that the two are in fact brothers, and it was him that sent the ninjas to kill Tengu with Bad Ninja, because he was afraid Tengu would find out that they were brothers and take up his throne. This starts a fight, and after killing Hidori, Tengu endgames himself because he realizes that he broke his last promise with Bad Ninja, not to avenge him. Brain. First appearing in Batman issue 26 in December of 1944, Brain, aka Batman 3000, is Batman from the far future. In his time, a robotic alien empire from Saturn arrived on Earth and enslaved all of humanity, including poor Brain. That is, until Brain and his friend Ricky got a time capsule containing a hologram of Batman and Robin in action. So, inspired by their heroics, they become the new Batman and Robin and lead a revolution against the evil people of Saturn. Also, Brain isn't actually his real name. His real name is Bruce Wayne. People in the year 3000 combine their first and last names because apparently it's more efficient. So he goes by Brain. Very dumb. Anyways, after the story in 1944, he wasn't really seen again until Batman 700 in August 2010, and a brief cameo that shows Brain and Ricky in a grittier fashion. But that's shockingly not the only Batman named Brain. First showing up in Batman issue 67 in October of 1951, Brain Taylor was the Batman from the 31st century. He was inspired to become Batman after seeing footage of Batman and Robin fighting, which, yes, means that there are two Brain Batmans who were both inspired in the same way. He'd shown up a couple of times throughout the decades, once traveling back to the original Robin after his Robin broke his leg, and another time was summoned by Batman to help keep his identity a secret from Vicky Vale. It's also very unclear if this Brain is actually a descendant of the other Brain, as it's never brought up. I'm going to assume he is, though, because like, come on. State of Survival, the Joker collaboration. State of Survival is an iOS game that's kind of like Clash of Clans or something. I don't know. It looks like that one really terrible Walking Dead mobile game, No Man's Land. I have no idea what this is. I just see ads for it whenever I play Godzilla Defense Force. Anyways, in November of 2021, in a really weird crossover, Joker was added into the game via events, along with his own campaign and trailer. As for the trailer, we see Joker experimenting on zombies. I guess that's like a Joker thing to do. As for the campaign, you work with Joker for a bit until he eventually betrays you, which I guess is also a great Joker thing to do. Captain Sickery. First appearing in Detective Comics issue 416, June 1976, Carl Courtney took up the mantle of Captain Stingery after being the black sheep of his family. So, naturally, he became a pirate-themed supervillain, as you knew. So now I love how the DC wiki lists his lack of two eyes as a weakness. Anyways, early in his career, he for some reason convinced himself that his three brothers were actually all Batman. And so Batman came up to Stingery's brothers and was like, guys, just pretend to be me, bait him into coming over here, then I can kick his ass. So when Stingery eventually showed up, Batman and Flash, for some reason, he was there too, took him down. This won't be the last time Stingery tried to beat Supervillain, though. He would later join the Society of Supervillains at one point, and would later enter a relationship with the Cavalier. So he was a gay supervillain, but obviously at the time he couldn't come out as gay because, people didn't exactly like gay people back then. So when Black Lightning found out that Stingery was gay, he blackmailed him with that information to become an informant for the Justice League. Something tells me they didn't adapt that in the Black Lightning show. Sadly for Stingery, because he had no powers and just had a sword, he was killed fairly quickly in Secret 6, Issue 7 in May 2009 by a member of the Secret 6. He would briefly return in the New 52 when he believed that his three brothers were Batman, yet again, dress them up and then try to kill them. This time, though, he was stopped by Gotham Girl, which is quite the power difference. It's like if Superman showed up to kick any plunder with his ass. Tim Curry Joker. I actually don't know how I've come up with this in the original Iceberg, but before Mark Hamill was cast as the Joker in the animated series, Tim Curry was actually signed on to play the Clown Prince of Crime. Tim Curry apparently recorded audio for 4 entire episodes of the show, but left the show either because he had bronchitis at the time, and the Joker voice was so much of a strain on his voice, or the showrunners didn't care for his takes. Both of these explanations have been reported. There's only been one video of Tim Curry's Joker that's ever been released.
You're making me miss the show.
Batman, The Abduction. Released in January 1998, The Abduction is an extremely forgotten about Elseworld story, written by Alan Grant. It tells the story of Batman being abducted by aliens and experimented on before being dropped back onto Earth. Or at least that's what it seems like. After doing research on these gray aliens that abducted him, Batman figures out that he never actually was abducted. Instead, he was drugged and had his mind manipulated by a new supervillain named the Kook. He quickly defeats this new villain, and the day is saved. There's no aliens. Also, Batman fights Bruce Lee while drugged. I mean, come on, Batman, aliens, and Bruce Lee. It's a classic combination. Just like Captain America, Samurai, and John Cena, and All Might, Mermaids, and Miley Cyrus. Batman Clean and Dirty. Clean and Dirty was a lost segment of Sesame Street, originally aired in 1970 during the 99th episode of Sesame Street. This animated short lasted 51 seconds and featured Penguin and his gang in the hideout, which had some really dirty windows. And that was all that was known about this short for decades, until September 16th, 2019, when screenshots of the lost short were uploaded online. And finally, on July 15th, 2021, YouTube user LittleJerryFan92 released the full 51-second segment, revealing that the plot of the segment was actually that Batman and Robin were able to get the drop on Penguin because Penguin's lookout couldn't actually see the Dark Knight approaching because of the dirty window. So it was just kind of like telling kids, clean stuff. Golden Streets of Gotham. Golden Streets of Gotham is an Elseworlds released in March 2003, written by Jen Van Meter. In this universe, Batman is a man named Bruno Bankow and works as a laborer during the Industrial Revolution. Early in the story, he discovers that both his parents died in an industrial fire caused by negligence of their boss, Joseph Chillingham. Get it? Joe Chill. Anyways, after being inspired by Selina Kyle, aka the Cat, about workers' rights, Bruno became the Batman. He then begins to steal from the rich to give to the poor, much like Robin Hood, which pisses a lot of people off, with a plan even being created to frame Batman for the recent serial killings and industrial fires. And so Batman must now track down the serial killer, who he discovers in a man named Jack Smart, who had been driven insane by all the deaths he's accidentally caused, and is now dressing up like a clown to do his murders. So the Joker. After defeating the Joker and revealing the police corrupted plan to frame him, Bruno unmasks himself and turns himself into the police. It's a neat little Elseworld story that's been forgotten at times. Citizen Wayne. Citizen Wayne is an alternate universe introduced in Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Annual 4, released in July 1994, written by Mark Waits and Brian Augustin. In this universe, instead of becoming Two-Face, Harvey Dent becomes a twisted, murderous Batman after he gets hit by an acid attack. This results in Bruce Wayne having to become his own version of Batman to stop him. Well, I mean, not really Batman, but like, he opens up to stop Batman. Harvey is also not really Two-Face in this universe. It's more just like one face, as his entire face got melted by the acid. Anyways, the story comes to a close with Bruce and Harvey battling to the death, which results in Harvey falling to his death. Citizen Wayne is also the name of another alternate universe, introduced in Batman Chronicles 21, released in June 2000. That's very much just a homage to Citizen Kane, with Clark Kent being sent in to interview Robin, Alfred, Catwoman, Commissioner Gordon, and Joker after Bruce dies, and his last word being Rosebud. But instead of being misled, Alfred reveals that Rosebud was simply a word written on the side of the gun used to kill Thomas and Martha Wayne. King Tut. First appearing in Batman Confidential 26 in April 2009, Victor Goodman was an Egyptianologist who just loves King Tut. In fact, when the Gotham Museum of Antiquities had the chance to host a King Tut exhibit, he strongly advocated for it. But all of his co-workers were like, dude, this is Gotham City. If we bring King Tut here, the mummy's just going to get stolen. So his request was denied. This really pissed him off, and so he turned to a life of crime, calling himself King Tut. He claimed that he was the messenger of the god Aten. He would go on to embezzle money and murder a bunch of the museum's board of trustees. He would also leave Egyptian-themed riddles behind, which really pissed off Riddler. And so Riddler was like, yo, Batman, let's, team up. This dude's stealing my thing. And so the two teamed up to stop King Tut. He didn't exactly have any powers, though. He just had, a crooked flail as a weapon. Shockingly, Newman would make his return in the New 52 universe in Harley Quinn issue 38 in April 2018, although he hasn't really done much since his reintroduction. King Tut also appeared in the Lego Batman movie. I should also mention that King Tut was partially inspired by another villain of the same name that was created for the 1960s Batman show. This King Tut's real name was William McElroy, and would make regular appearances throughout the show. Catwoman 2004 is canon to the Burtonverse. This is exactly what it sounds like. In Catwoman 2004, you can briefly see a picture of Selina Kyle from Batman Returns as one of history's Catwoman. It's a very small Easter egg that makes this technically canon to the Burtonverse. Fury and Echo probably should have been at the top of the iceberg, but I forgot about them, so I'm putting them here. Sorry. Anyway, it's well known by good chunk of Batman fans that Riddler didn't always work alone. He occasionally had two sidekicks, Query, aka Deandra Vance, and Echo, aka Nina DeFino. The duo would make their first appearance in the late 20th century, with Query showing up in
I don't know what this nigga's
in
doing.
October 1989, and Echo showing up in Detective Comics Annual 8 in July 1995. They do some stuff with Riddler occasionally, but they weren't always with them. They just occasionally tag along
Come on,
for a couple of jobs. In fact, they don't actually have many appearances under their belts.
What's a 3
This
now?
because Riddler admitted in
Damn,
Detective
man.
Comics issue 822 that he had recruited the duo from an SZN5 club. So they probably just went back to work there. Warbats. Introduced to Detective Comics Annual 9 in August 1996 as part of the Legends of the Dead Earth event I mentioned earlier, this universe takes place in the far, far future, on a mysterious planet that's not Earth. This story stars three children who tell each other legends about Batman, almost like Gotham Knights. But that's when they discover a broken down war robot, and decide, okay, let's screw with it, let's rebuild it. So they rebuild it and name it Warbat. Once it's rebuilt, it instantly goes and does its thing as a
Are you fucking me?
It goes on duty looking around for enemies to slaughter. The three kids follow the machine, and two of them eventually dress up like Robin. Finally, the story ends with Warbat and the kids discovering enemy aliens, and an enemy robot that resembles the Joker for some reason. and a giant battle takes place, with Warman sacrificing his life in the line of duty to save the day. One Operation Joker. So this is a manga that I think is officially licensed. I mean, it has a Mal page, so it's not a dojo. This is a comedy story about Batman falling into a pool of chemicals, which causes him to be turned into a baby. Now, like Bat Baby, he can't fight crime. He's just like a literal infant. Joker takes responsibility for this and actually decides to raise Batman. No, this isn't the joke. This is the plot of the manga. It began being published in January 2021 and is still going on today. It's basically your standard slice of life comedy manga, but it stars Joker and Harley Quinn, and it's about them becoming parents to their arch enemy. This has, of course, led to a lot of very surreal and bizarre panels. I highly recommend this story. It's really funny. Alright, when we're done, Batman Iceberg 2 is done. Yeah, that part of the beginning of the video where I was like, I wanted to get this out before the Batman comes out. That didn't age well. It didn't age well at all. But it wasn't one of my faults. I was sick at the time, so I was sick at the time of the Batman's release, so I had to push this video back a few days. But we're all good now. It's done. I never want to talk about Batman again. It's funny, every time I finish one of these icebergs, for like the next 2 months afterwards, I just don't want to think about the subject ever again. Just because for every day, I've just been Batman, you know? So it's just, yeah. Next is Spider-Man Part 2, and then afterwards, we'll see what happens. And, yeah, this isn't the last time we'll talk about DC stuff. I'm sure I'll do like a Batman tier list of some kind down the line. I'll talk about Batman stuff in the eventual 1979 to 1999 best and worst superhero films of a year, which is going to happen, but it's probably mainly shorter because I think there's a good number of years where there's just like none released. So, oh well. Also, potentially, I'll do a Justice League iceberg one day. I don't know. I don't want to do like a DC iceberg. That's that's like way too big. So if I narrow it down to like the Justice League, I think that would be fine. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know. On that note, hope you guys had a great day. Hope you guys continue to have great days. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Where is the story? Wake up in the morning, make 2 bowls of cereal. Rolling solo in the crib, but you hear me on. Watching cartoons, thinking what's the scenario? My mind's running, trying to catch it in some miracle. That's just how I get in my zone. In the flow, got a bunch of zone. I used to walk around all alone. Till I found the energy that I wanted. Got myself a board, turned it into a boombox. Music for the people, I'll be ready when the beat drop. Playing all the records from the Star Park gift shop. Talking hip hop, so it's said I don't belong. The demon some new shoes on. I rolled up to the brand new song. All these like was like Yes, all I love is I'm dope. Showing off on my drinks like a pro. There's a keep lit, no drinks, game park, no piss. When the colors get deep, time playing, no skips. Rolling all day and all night, I'm like, yeah. You can find me in the air.
Did you guys remember Spider Pig in the Simpsons movie? I thought it was like the funniest shit when I was 7.
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does.
Anyways, welcome to the Spider-Man Iceberg. Before we begin, I'd like to point out something because some people were confused with the Batman Iceberg when I talk about Harley Quinn, Deathstroke, and Suicide Squad stuff in that video, as well as Batman. Well, I did that because all 3 of those topics are heavily related to Batman, so I thought it didn't matter. I still don't think it matters. So not only will we be talking about Spider-Man trivia in this video, but also stuff for Venom, Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, Civil, etc. So without further ado, let's talk about Ben. The bombastic Bagman is a pretty iconic Spider-Man suit. After Reed Richards separated Peter from the Venom symbiotes, he was left without a costume. So Reed, being the nice guy that he is, gave Peter an extra Fantastic Four suit with a paper bag over it, like the dude from Fairly Odd Parents. Despite it only appearing in that one issue, The Amazing Spider-Man issue 258, it's become an extremely common outfit for Peter to wear in many different video games like Edge of Tomorrow, Shattered Dimensions, Enter Electro, and Spider-Man PS4. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 130, the company Cora Motors wanted to promote their new non-polluting car engine, and got Spider-Man to promote it. Peter didn't want to do it, but he had to because he really needed the money at the time. And so the Spider-Mobile was born. It could drive on walls, had gas bombs, web shooters, web-filled airbags. That sounds horrible. And because of how absurd a Spider-Man car is, Cora Motors took back the car, and Peter never used it again. Well, that, and he also drove it into a lake. That is until a few decades later when Parker Industries, we'll get to that in a bit, created a new Spider-Mobile in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, Issue 1. Though, because of how silly it is, it's appeared in several different continuities. So after Peter had his identity revealed in Civil War, an assassin was hired to kill Peter, and they kind of did a shit job, as Peter sensed that he was about to fire and jumped out of the way, leaving Aunt May to be shot instead. And so Aunt May was on the brink of death, and in order to save her life, Peter decided to make a deal with the devil, aka Mephisto, aka the dude everyone and their mother thought was going to be in WandaVision, to bring her back to life. The price was, she'd come back to life at the cost of Peter and Mary Jane's marriage. Shockingly, both of them agreed. Well, the rest is history. The story is very obviously universally hated for a number of obvious reasons. It was hated so much that Marvel released a sequel storyline called One Moment in Time in an attempt to salvage War Day, though the story was also disliked for many different reasons. Most recently, the 2020 story arc Glass Remains is actually a sequel to War Day, where it deals with the consequences of the events, and is also disliked, though to a lesser extent. Apparently there's some good elements in it. I haven't personally read yet. Honestly, they probably should just stop referencing these events and just have them get married again. If you want to know more about the story, go check out Owen Lake's comics video on the subject. The second Tarzan film was meant to start up a cinematic universe, and since we're not waiting on the release of Spider-Man vs. Hobgoblin 3, I guess the cinematic universe didn't really take off. I'll go into more detail on the other canceled films in the cinematic universe, but as of right now, let's just talk about Tarzan 3. Tarzan 3 is going to be about cloning, because all great stories deal with cloning. Gwen Stacy and her father would come back as clones, and the villains were going to be the entire Sinister Six, and Carnage would even cameo. Black Cat would also be in the film, and Norman Osborn would return as the King Goblin. Remember one of the biggest problems with Tarzan 2 was the fact that it had too many villains? I guess they thought doubling the amount of villains of the last film would fix the problem. This film was ultimately cancelled though because Tarzan 2 wasn't performed, and Andrew Garfield didn't exactly have the best relationship with Sony. Jackson Wheel in Amazing Spider-Man issue 183, 1978, was a businessman who embezzled from his company. Fearing he'd be caught, he hired the criminal Rocket Racer to steal evidence that would incriminate him. But hiring the criminal backfired on him, so it led to Rocket Racer blackmailing him. In response, Wheel tried to kill himself, but was saved by Rocket Racer, who was called the insult Big Wheel. So naturally, Wheel went to the Tinkerer and created a giant metal wheel that could climb up buildings, had guns and arms, so that he could get revenge on Rocket Racer as the Big Wheel. He'd ultimately be defeated by Spider-Man, but would return 20 years later as an ally, as after going to jail for embezzlement, he joined Phil Anon, which is a parody of Alcoholics Anonymous, and being a hero was part of his 12-step program. There was also at least one other person named Big Wheel, though his name's unknown. Over the years, Big Wheel has become kind of the staple of weird Spider-Man villains. Here in cartoons and video games. So with everyone knows, Spider-Man with the Kansas City Spider-Man 3. Wanting to please audiences at the Spider-Man 3's reception, Sam Raimi wrote at least 4 different drafts of the film, but hated all of them, and so Sam Raimi and so decided to part ways. We do know a bit about what Spider-Man 4 would have been about, as more and more information about the project has come out over the years. Like how John Malkovich was going to play the Vulture, while Anne Hathaway played Felicia Hardy. Though she wouldn't become Black Cat, instead she would be Vultureless. Though in 2013, Sam Raimi backtracked on this and said that she played Black Cat, so I don't know. We also know there'd be a montage of Spider-Man beating up villains, such as the Rhino, sporting his classic design, and Mysterio, played by Bruce Campbell. As for Spider-Man 5, well, Sony had engaged James Vanderbilt to write Spider-Man 5 and 6, so they intended this to be a complete saga. Alright, so the Clone Saga. I'll make it as short as possible because this is one of the biggest Spider-Man comics ever. The Clone Saga is a comic run in the 90s that was universally hated. Originally meant to last only 1 year, writers were encouraged to keep the story going for at least 2 more years. The story arc actually first started in 1975, in which the villain Jackal clones Spider-Man and forces Peter to fight the clone. Both men believed that the real Peter Parker, and so they decided to work together. But one of them was killed by a bomb, leaving readers to wonder if the real Spider-Man died, or if the clone died. Then, decades later, in the actual Clone Saga, it was revealed that the clone had survived, and had been named Ben Riley, and had taken up a mantle of the Scarlet Spider. But then it was revealed from medical tests that Peter was the clone, and that Ben was the original. But then that was revealed to be a trick by the Green Goblin. Complicated? Well, that's just an extremely summarized version of the story. There was intense behind-the-scenes drama working on the comic as writers debated on whether or not Peter was the original, or that it didn't matter who was the original, and that Ben Riley should take over. Because of this, there's times where Peter and Ben both go back and forth going, wait, I'm the original Peter, no, I'm the clone. One deserves a generation.
Jesus, bro. I don't know what more I gotta fucking do. I swear to fucking God, man.
Because they help people invest in stocks, ETFs, and IPOs, and borrow better mortgages and personal loans. Join us and millions of others to make, borrow, and invest all in one app. Drive towards financial independence with the next generation of bankers. So, get your money right.
Oh, did I mention the third Spider-Man clone, Spider Side? Oh, in the original unsuccessful version of Peter, Kane Parker. Yeah, there are 4 clones of Spider-Man involved in the story arc. The story was aimed by fans correctly for a convoluted storyline and attempts at trying to write Peter and Mary Jane out of the franchise. If you want to know more on this event, go check out Owen Lee's comics and videos on the subject. I highly recommend doing so, because what I just went over just not do it justice. If I did justice, this entire section would be like 80 minutes long. It's insane. It's like Spider-Man PS4, or Joe talking about Nazi controlling a swarm of bees. Probably just thought that was a joke of the absurdity of some conspiracy theory. But no, it is actually referencing the villain Swarm, who, yes, is a Nazi who controls a swarm of bees. You see, during World War II, Fritz von Baer was one of Hitler's top scientists. He escaped the war and became a beekeeper in South America, where he discovered a colony of mutated bees. Intrigued, Fritz tried to enslave the queen bee, as you do, but failed and was devoured by them, leaving only his skeleton behind. Because of the mutation in the bees, Fritz's consciousness was absorbed by them. allowing him to manipulate the hive. And so now he's in complete control of these bees, and his entire body is made up of these bees. He first appeared in Champions issue 14 in 1977 and quickly became a supporting villain for Spider-Man. And no, he is not related at all to Dr. Bees. For some weird reason, Disney re-released Far From Home in theaters only about a month or so after it stopped being in theaters. This quote-unquote extended cuts included the one-shot Here's to-do list inserted back into the film, and included at least one other scene among Mysterio that for some reason has no home video release, so the only way to watch it now is for our theater rips on YouTube. So the 90s Spider-Man cartoon received a rather strange sequel series that wasn't actually a sequel, despite it making very clear references to the original series. Anyways, this series was Spider-Man Unlimited. It was a cartoon that ran from October 1989 to March 2001, but it only had 13 episodes. The show is about Spider-Man, Carnage, and Venom being transported to encounter Earth, another Earth located on the far side of the sun. I know it sounds weird, just roll with it, right? On this Earth, Peter discovers a group of freedom fighters battling against the Beast Dogs, a group of animal-human hybrids that are the dominant species of the planet. It's a very strange series that was hated by Sony because at the time they were making Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film, which for some reason meant that the people making Unlimited couldn't adapt any comic stories or use any of the traditional Spider-Man suits. The series was not very successful and was quietly canceled, despite a tie-in comic series being made that also didn't do very well. Spider-Man vs. Superman is a one-shot crossover comic from 1976 and isn't very realistic, because if Spider-Man and Superman actually fought, Spidey would end up being splattered on the sidewalk, let's be real. Anyway, Superman Jerry Conway was about the two superheroes teaming up after briefly battling each other to stop Lex Luthor and Doc Ock from unleashing a super weapon that creates tornadoes and hurricanes worldwide to destroy the world. Most people know this crossover, but what many don't know is that it actually received a sequel titled Superman and Spider-Man in 1981, in which Superman and Spider-Man team up again to battle Doctor Doom and Parasite, of all the villains they should have chosen. But this story is notable because it also includes Hulk and Wonder Woman. It even features brief fights between Hulk and Superman and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman. But that's not the end just yet. You see, the original Superman vs. Spider-Man stories are referenced several times in mainstream Marvel Comics, like Lincoln Mosaic in 2017 and Avengers Forever in 1999. Also, the tie-in with my Transformers Iceberg and Batman Iceberg videos. Go check this out, please. Both these Spider-Man and Superman comics actually take place in the same continuity as Transformers and Avengers. Both Spider-Man and Batman crossovers, Batman vs. Hulk, both Batman Daredevil crossovers, and both Batman Punisher crossovers. This universe, officially known as Earth 7642. Spider-Verse is a 2014 event written by John Singer Jr. takes inspiration from the Spider-Wars duology from the 90s cartoon. This story arc sees, oh boy, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Silk, Kane, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Girl, Miles Morales, Jessica Drew, 2099 Spider-Man, Mayday Parker, Indian Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man Cartoon Spider-Man, Spider-UK, Spider-Punk, Assassin Spider-Man, Ben Riley, Lady Spider, Cyborg Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, Old Man Spider, Spider-Ham, Last Stand Spider-Man, Spider-Cat, Japanese Spider-Man, and dozens more Spider-Man teaming up to travel the world to stop the bad news, stampede inheritors, or trying to wave all over Spider-Man across the multiverse. It's insane, and was briefly revived in the 2015 Secret Wars event, and even inspired the film Into the Spider-Verse, and the four-part Ultimate Spider-Man story arc of the Spider-Verse. It even received a sequel story arc in 2018 called Spider-Geddon, that brought in Spider-Man Gets 4, Spider-Man, Spider-Lane, Spider-X, and more. I highly recommend the original event, as it's absolutely insane. The Sun is another strange Spider-Man villain that first appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 98 in 1985. His name is Jonathan Ogg, and he does powers by draining the sun's power on the orcs of Kingpin in order to create a portal. However, a blackout occurred and began to destroy the portal. Now, Jonathan, being a mad scientist, stupidity, decided, hey, we'll just walk into the portal and see what happens. When he awoke, he was in an alternate dimension, but luckily for him, he was able to escape. Though when he returned to his universe, his body was covered with tiny little dimensional portals. And so, he decided to a supervillain called the Spot. After the Spot, he's able to create infernal portals from his body at enemies. But like I said, they have to be from his body. So if he runs out of them in his body, he can't really do anything unless he goes and collects it. He's a really strange villain who actually managed to travel to the small screen 2 times, as he appeared in the 90s cartoon and the 2017 cartoon. Oh, right, and he founded the team of the Legion of Losers once. Meet the Boys, the lead consisting of the 60s cartoon versions of Rhino, Vulture, Electro, and Green Goblin, looking really smug, just hanging out, just being dudes. Not much else to say, other than this better somehow be referenced in Into the Spider-Verse 2.
Who's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Just like all movies, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, Casa Duology, and MCU Spider-Man films all have deleted scenes. For Spider-Man 1, there's Peter creating web shooters instead of doing organic webbing. Stan Lee creating a completely different cameo where he tries to sell Peter sunglasses, and Peter accidentally revealing his identity to some kids before telling them to keep his secret. In Spider-Man 2, there's a scene in which Jonah puts on the Spider-Man outfit and tries to be him. Peter calming down Harry at his birthday party. A scene in which Mary Jane's friend explains to her what love is. A scene in which Peter applying to the guy in the elevator's ideas for branding. And finally, a scene in which Spider-Man is thrown into a building with Doc Ock to fight. Most, if not all, of these scenes were actually put back into the film, the extended cut of the movie. Finally, in Spider-Man 3, there's a Venom jump scare that was cut. Sandman's daughter is building a sandcastle out of Sandman. Harry climbing against Mary Jane works up with Peter. The final scene of the film being one final web swing. Venom reattaching himself to Peter. More scenes of Harry monologuing to Norman Osborn. A scene in which a kid pretends to be Spider-Man in Central Park. And finally, a scene in which Penny's doctor, Dr. Wallace, explains to Sandman that Penny can be cured and to not kill Spider-Man. In Tasm 1, there's a scene where Blizzard flicks a teenage girl's face in the bathroom. Alright, guys, what was this for? A running gag about Peter buying eggs was cut. The lizard devouring Martha in front of Peter was cut. A scene in which Kirk Connor's telling his kid he was going away was deleted from the film. A scene in which Peter skateboards in the middle of Manhattan, causing him to use spider sense and jump out of the way, was also scrapped. And finally, a scene in which Dr. Connors appears at Peter's doorstep and offers his sympathy after Uncle Ben's murder. In Talent 2, Peter's dad steals the assassin with a gun and sees that the pilot plays dead. Peter's dad comes out of nowhere, back in the grave, and talks to Peter at Gwen's grave. This is personally my favorite deleted scene of all time, just for how absurd it is. Like, what? How is he alive? What was the point of this? Where the fuck's he been all these years? A scene in which Flash thanks Gwen for tutoring him. Harry showing Peter a battlesuit prototype. Harry murdering a bunch of dudes at Oscorp with pumpkin bombs before spotting Felicia Hardy there. He then orders to leave and then leaves himself. Electro celebrating his birthday until the power gets shut down, which requires him to fix his mom's oxygen tank. And then tells her that it's his birthday, only for her to make fun of him. And finally, a scene in which Spider-Man throws a manhole covered Rhino. That was in literally every trailer for the movie, but not the actual film itself. In Homecoming, Peter accidentally saves the Chancellor of Germany. Peter, Ned, and MJ watch David and Charles still leading up to the events of Winter Soldier. Aaron Davis calls Miles Morales and apologizes that he can't make it to the meetup. A bunch of kids start taking selfies with Shocker, who's still trapped in Wayne Nicholas out of the school bus. And a scene in which Ned wishes Peter luck on his mission to take down Vulture, to which Peter responds wishing Ned good luck with his math quiz. In Infinity War, there is a scene in which Spider-Man is forced to rescue the Guardians of the Galaxy, with Thanos sending them all flying. This scene was actually leaked on the internet almost an entire year before Infinity War came out, and everyone thought it was fake. And finally, in Far From Home, there's an entire sequence in which Peter, in the Iron Spider armor, defeats the unfriendly crime family. These scenes were later turned into its own one-shot titled Peter's New List. Peter sells all his toys from an MJ necklace, which was also included in the shorts. A scene in which Peter puts on Tony Stark's glasses at the airport and asks Aunt May for her opinion on them. And finally, a scene in which Mysterio grabs his team for the attack on London was cut from the film. The Outlaws, a former group of supervillains from anti-heroes who work with Spider-Man for its time being, led by Silver Sable. They first appeared in one of Spider-Man in issue 50 from 1989. The team consisted of Will Lewis, Rocket Racer, Kuma, Prowler, and Sandman. They were formed together by Silver Sable and Spider-Man after Spider-Man was framed for robbery. However, after the job was complete, they broke up shortly afterwards and went with Spider-Man Annual issue 7 in 1991. Also, not being related, I might as well mention this here. This is the only time Sandman's become a good guy. He actually joined the Avengers for a time being and being recruited by Captain America in Avengers 129 in 1991. before becoming a full-time member in Captain America issue 385 in 1901. Though this didn't exactly last for too long, as Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 12 at 99, he starts doing evil again. Marvel Zombies franchise created in 2005 that started out with a 5-issue series written by Robert Kirkman. Inside a universe in the Marvel multiverse that's, as the name suggests, has been taken over by zombies. However, these zombies, or specifically the Marvel heroes and villains who get turned into zombies, still retain most of their sentience. It's become a pretty popular continuity, and is even said to be partially adapted in the upcoming MCU series What If. But why am I talking about it here? After all, this is Spider-Man iceberg, not a Marvel iceberg. Well, because Spider-Man's in it, and he plays a pretty big role in it. In this universe, Peter Parker actually devours both Aunt May's and Mary Jane along with Jonah. And after devouring the rest of the world alongside his fellow zombie heroes, he helped devour Galactus and control the entire universe, eating quite literally everything in existence. Eventually, Spider-Man travels through the universe and decides to try and cure this virus. Instead of finding one, he turns Sandman into the ultimate weapon, and it has him kill every single zombie from every single universe, including himself. His final words were thanking Sandman for avenging Aunt May and Mary Jane. I should also probably mention that this universe's Sandman became the ultimate weapon. Killed his universe's Spider-Man because he thought he was a zombie. Pretty fucking graphic, Jesus Christ. But you never see Sandman willingly form himself into Spider-Man. My god, I wish I had one. Spider-Gwen, aka My Wife, was created by Jason Lambert and Robbie Rodriguez, which is pretty much exactly what it implies. In this universe, Gwen Stacy was made by the Spider instead of Peter, and in this universe, Peter eventually came out. She's become an extremely popular character since her creation, which led her to appear in multiple different comic runs, appearances in both TV shows and film, even starring in a film in the future, and has crossed over with the mainline Marvel continuity several times. She's even become Venom at one points, and is currently known by the name Ghost Rider. She's also become Marvel's most popular alternate universe character. Well, not counting Miles Morales, since he's jumped the mainline continuity. Oh, wait, so is she. And now she regularly commutes to the mainline universe's Empire State University for her own timeline. So, I guess she's not an alternate universe character anymore. Whatever. Point is, she's a fun character and has pretty much become the default for Gwen Stacy ever since her introduction. From 1977 to 1979, a live-action Spider-Man series named The Amazing Spider-Man aired on CBS that lasted 13 episodes in 2 seasons. It starred Nicholas Hammond as Peter, Robert F. Simon as J. Jonah Jameson, and literally a new actress in every single episode that Aunt May appeared in. While the show did pretty well in ratings, it was actually hated by fans at the time for not adapting comic storylines and not having a single supervillain in the series. Despite this, the show received 3 different TV movies. Well, a pilot film and then 2 two-parters that were sold as films overseas. And they count, right? However, in the 1980s, there was an attempt to revive the show. In an interview in 2002, Nicholas Hammond revealed that an Amazing Spider-Man reunion film was being worked on. Peter would even gone to black suit in this film. I'll go further into detail in this project a bit later, as it includes another one of Marvel's heroes. Rated memes is exactly what it sounds like. It's a subreddit dedicated to memes based on the Raimi trilogy. Really much else to say other than the web-slinging maniac Lord Voldemort.
Jesus fuck, my nigga.
From 2014 to 2015, a 6-issue crossover series with Spider-Man and the X-Men was written called, well, Spider-Man and the X-Men. It's not extremely notable in my opinion, except for one scene that's become a meme online. In the second issue, Peter and the X-Men confront dinosaur-like villains Sauron and Stegoron, to which they discover their plan is to turn the entire population of Earth into dinosaurs. Spider then asks, "You can rewrite DNA on the fly, and you're using it to turn people into dinosaurs? What's a DNA like that? You could cure cancer." To which Sauron responds with, "I don't want to kill cancer. I will turn people into dinosaurs." Truthfully, a goal that everyone can get down with. So what if Venom was an agent for the US government? Enter Agent Venom. After Flash Thompson becomes bonded to Venom in order to heal his legs, he begins working for the United States government as Agent Venom. He first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man issue 654 in 2011, and when he begins his own solo series. However, while Venom gives him strength, he can't stay bonded to Venom for more than 48 hours at a time, or Venom will take full control of him and go berserk. As Agent Venom, not only was he part of the US military, but also he was part of the Secret Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy at one point. Later on, after Venom returns to Eddie Brock, Flash gets spotted with a new symbiote that becomes a new anti-Venom, thus becoming Agent Anti-Venom in Amazing Spider-Man Venom Inc. Alpha Issue 1 in 2017. What a mouthful. Well, to be honest here, I'm not really a fan of Agent Venom. The sci-fi is cool, but I really don't like the idea of Venom working for the government. But hey, if you like him, that's totally cool. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is a 3D motion-based dark ride located at Universal Studios. It was opened in 1999 and still is operational to this day. It uses special aerobic motion vehicles, physical sets, and 3D projection. And as you help out Spider-Man battle Doc Ock, Electro, Hydro Man, Hobgoblin, and Scream, all characters. As guests enter the ride, they go through the Daily Bugle and are subjected to Jonah's rants. It's received critical acclaim, and I've actually been on it myself. It's really great. If you're in Universal Studios, check it out.
Yo!
In the early 90s, James Cameron sent in a screenplay to Carol Co-Pictures with a screenplay for a Spider-Man film. He had down the Spider-Man origin story and feature election.
Nah, what is going on?
It would be a parody of capitalism. Okay. And Sandman would have been mutated in a Philadelphia-style experiment. Basically, an atom mixing that results in a nuke. I recommend go researching the Philadelphia experiment yourself. It's a weird fucking thing that's obviously not real, but people think it is. Trial that will also take place in the World Trade Center and feature heavy profanity. You have a scene where Spider-Man.
Nah, this is real life fucking crazy.
Issues and a whole bunch of legal stuff. I don't understand because I'm not smart enough. I'd highly recommend checking out Superboy Civil's video on the subject. They do an excellent job of covering it. Spider-Man was a character created by Larry Hama and Tom DeFalco.
Fucking unfucking real, bro.
Spectacular Spider-Man in 1983, before getting his own solo series shortly after. His real name is Peter Porker, was Spider, before getting his powers by a crazy pig scientist that bit him and became radioactive. Since its introduction, he's appeared.
I don't know, I don't fucking know, man.
In fact, he's actually appeared in the Spider-Verse film. And a cartoon series about him is currently being discussed. It's a very popular comedic relief character, and he's also a cannibal.
This is crazy, bro. I swear to fucking God, my nigga.
Is there in the computer stab? Go to the one place that has it all, like Spider-Man, the computer game. There's something fun for everyone at Best Buy. Swing a new adventure. Now back to Spider-Man, right here on Disney XD.
Not to be confused with the time Peter accidentally gave himself forged arms and pretended to cure himself. Man Spider's mutation of Spider-Man has appeared in several different comics. His first appearance was in Marvel Fanfare Issue 2 in 1982, in which Spider-Man and Angel are captured by the villain Brainchild during a trip to the Savage Lands. There, Brainchild transforms Peter into a monster version of himself. However, Peter eventually regains consciousness and was eventually cured. Later, during a battle with Plant Man, Peter would also be partially transformed into Man Spider. And that's pretty much the end of it in the comics. Though Man Spider would make an appearance in 3 episodes of the main cartoon, a single Spider-Man Unlimited episode, and an episode of Ultimate Spider-Man. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 130 and 131, Doc Ock and Aunt May are almost married. Yes, I said 130. Peter gets the Spider-Mobile and almost has an arch-nemesis marry his aunt the same day. This story has been built up to the comics ever since Amazing Spider-Man issue 115. Who might Doc Ock going to marry Aunt May? Well, inheritance. You see, Aunt May was given an inheritance that wasn't something like money or anything like that, but the nuclear breeding reactors in Canada. So yes, Aunt May technically owned a nuclear power plant for a bit. Doc Ock wanted to gain control over it so he could take over the world. In the 2004 Spectacular Spider-Man story arc, Changes, Peter's mutation worsens after a new villain named Queen shows up and infects Spider-Man with a genetic enzyme through a kiss. This turns Peter into a giant spider. No, not a man spider, just a giant spider, who dies in the comic, only to give birth to Peter Parker, who now has organic webbing and a psychic link to insects and arachnids. Genuinely horrifying. Imagine turning into a spider and then giving birth to yourself. Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark was a 2011 Broadway musical about Spider-Man that included highly intentional stunts and aerial combat scenes. It tells the story of Peter becoming Spider-Man and Green Goblin, creating the Sinister Six by creating Carnage, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Lizard, Swarm of characters, and an original villain, Swiss Miss. The problem is, there's technically 7 of them, so it's not really the Sinister Six, but whatever. All these characters have absolutely nothing to do with their comic counterparts, except for their names and designs. For example, Carnage isn't even a serial killer. He's just an unspoken employee. Other characters in the show include Arachne, who's a Greek goddess with spider powers who desperately wants to bang Peter. Yep, okay. The show received a mixed reception and had several different injuries. Stunt double Kevin Hoffman broke both of his wrists, and another actor broke his feet. Natalie Mendoza suffered a concussion. Stunt performer Christopher Teneri was injured when he fell 21 feet off a piece of scenery when his harness failed. Daniel Curry suffered leg trauma after being pinned under a piece of equipment, and TV Carpio injured her neck. Yeah, this wasn't exactly a very safe work environment. It showed its last performance on January 4th, 2014, with a historic, massive financial loss. As Spider-Man Draw the Dark was, and still is, the most expensive Broadway production in history, with a budget of $75 million, and it never made back that money. For more information on this train wreck, I recommend watching the Wait in the Wings video on it. The 90s Spider-Man cartoon was originally going to have a 6th and final season. We know at least a couple of plot lines that were this season. One plot says Spider-Man traveling to the 19th century London, where he'd finally find Mary Jane and fight Carnage, who he revealed to be Jack the Ripper. Well, let me rephrase that. That story was a script event written in 2016 by John Smith Jr., the writer of the show. That was at the time of the show's loose ends. It's highly likely that a story of Peter finding Mary Jane was planned, but whether or not he traveled to London is a completely different story. It's entirely possible he just made it up in 2016 before the story script. Also, there were rumors about Norman Osborn returning from Limbo to take back the role of Green Goblin. There were also rumors that a crossover with the Hope series was planned. A team up with Ghost Rider was planned.